the chair's addresses, and we'll hear from Corey. I'm going to open up both public hearings, and then we'll see if there's any comments from the public for the record. So bear with me here.
Good morning.
Good morning, John. Okay, we'll start with Okanagan Basin Lakes Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 2862, 2020. This is a public hearing for proposed Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, Okanagan Basin Lake Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 2862, 2020. The proposed bylaw and related information, including written comments received to date, is available for review on the Regional District's webpage. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to do so. Written comments may be submitted before closure of the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak at this public hearing is asked to do one of the following. If you are participating by computer, please click the raise hand button, which can be found in the participants panel on the right-hand side of your computer screen. This will indicate that you wish to speak. If you are participating by phone, please press *3 on your phone's keypad. This will also indicate that you wish to speak. Having indicated that you wish to speak, you will then be placed in a queue until you are invited to speak. All speakers will be restricted to a time limit of 5 minutes until everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to speak a second time may do so by following the same protocol of selecting the raise hand button on your computer or by pressing *3 on your phone's keypad. To submit written comments, please email them to planning@rdos.bc.ca prior to the close of the public hearing. I will now ask Corey Lebret, planner with the RDOS, to outline the specifics of the proposed bylaw. Go ahead, please, Corey.
Good morning. So we have the proposed dock regulations, Okanagan Basin Lake Zone, bylaw number 2862, 2020. It affects electoral areas A, C, D, E, F, and I. And the location it affects includes the Okanagan, Soyuz, Skaha, Viso Lakes, and their foreshores. 2017 to 2018, concerns with certain commercial docks led to the RDOS realizing we had no ability to seek formal community input or to approve or deny large-scale proposals. In 2019 to this year, RDOS examined the issues, reviewed best practices, and developed a draft Okanagan Basin Zone bylaw with community feedback. Public information meetings were widely advertised and hosted electronically on July 30th, August 4th, and August 5th, 2020. And October 1st, 2020, bylaw 2862 was given first and second reading by the board. The bylaw objectives are to maintain support for private residential water-based recreation on lakes, including residential docks, boat ramps, buoys, and swimming platforms. The board is given the opportunity to review any intensive use proposals through the rezoning process, including commercial, marina, floatplane, and group moorage. Intensive use proposals needing rezoning and board approval through the formal rezoning process includes commercial docks and marinas, group moorage, such as condominium complexes, and floatplane moorage. Generally, private residential docks that meet provincial guidelines will not require the RDOS's approval. And it's important to note that any residential and commercial moorage proposals still first need provincial permission from the Ministry of Forests, Lands, Natural Resource Operations. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Corey. And before we see if there's any comments from the public on that public hearing, I would like to open up the second one as well. And that's for Loose Bay Campground. This is a public hearing for proposed Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen bylaw number 2453.38, 2020. The proposed bylaw and related information, including written comments received to date, is available for review on the Regional District's webpage. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to do so. Written comments may be submitted before closure of the hearing. Same process as what I just previously stated, that you can click the raise hand button on your computer or *3 from your phone, and you will be placed in a queue to speak. You will be restricted to 5 minutes. And if you wish to speak a second time, then go ahead and do the raise hand button or *3, and we'll put you in the queue. And written comments can be emailed to planning@rdos.bc.ca prior to the closure of the public hearing. And I will now ask Corey Lebrecq, planner with the RDOS, to outline the specifics of this proposed bylaw. Go ahead, please, Corey.
This bylaw is zoning amendment 2453.38/2020. It affects electoral area C, particularly the location of 500 Seacrest Hill Road, Block A, Plan, Cap 1729, District Lot 2450S, SBYD. The owner is the Crown, and the agent is the RDOS. The bylaw amends the property zone from agricultural 2 to agricultural 2 site-specific, with campground as a permitted use. The purpose is to formalize the Loose Bay Campground, which provides accommodation options for agricultural workers in the area. And the bylaw ensures the campsite can operate in a safe and healthy manner given the COVID-19 pandemic, with a new washroom, laundry, and shower facilities. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Corey. I now declare that both public hearings are open, and I ask if there is anybody present on the phone or computer line who wishes to speak to either of these proposed bylaws. And we're having a look here. Danny, have you seen anybody? And nobody from a phone line so far? Okay, I am going to ask a second time. Oh, we do have one. Okay, and is that via the computer or phone? Okay, so we have Donald Vokey, I believe, who wishes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a resident of a condominium on the south shore of Skaha Lake. The current bylaw as written doesn't seem to cover this type of residence. It seems to only cover single family residents, as best that I can determine. Is there an intent to expand the bylaw at some point to appropriately cover multifamily properties, which is currently properly licensed under the Ministry of Forests?
We'll go to Corey. Was there any feedback you could provide?
So at this point, there is no plan to expand the bylaw in that way. Part of the idea behind the bylaw was to be able to have the opportunity for the RDOS board to be able to review large-scale proposals. So those include commercial, but as I mentioned in the presentation, they'll also include condominiums. So anything that's on the ground today and was permitted by the province would be grandfathered in, but going forward, large-scale condominiums would require the board's review.
Okay, thank you very much. And Donald, did you have another statement to make for the record? I see your hand is up, or is that left over from your previous question?
So any lease fees, etc., would be a matter for the Ministry of Forestry, not for the RDOS.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask a second time if there's anybody present on the computer or phone line who wishes to speak to either of these public hearings. Look, do you see anyone, Danny? No? Okay. And I will ask a third and final time if there's anyone present who wishes to speak to either of these proposed bylaws. Anyone, Danny? No. Okay, thank you very much. I declare both public hearings closed at 9:11 a.m. Thank you. Okay, directors, we're going to move forward with what's on our schedule of meetings, which is Community Services Committee. And first, I'd like to welcome alternate director Richard Barkwell, who's filling in for Director Trainer today. So welcome, Richard. And I'll turn Community Services over to Chair Bauer.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. May I have a motion for Community Services Committee agenda, please? Director Oberich, seconded Director Gettens. All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Director Roberts? Okay, I thought the hand was up. Healthy Communities Partnership, we have an administrative report. CEO?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So we're going to bring Augusto Romero in. He's our manager of recreation services. But as some of our older board members will recall, we were very active with Healthy Communities Project back in 2013, 14, 15. For those who have a really good memory, Dr. Carr was a proponent of this when we started out. And it went through a number of evolutions. And to tell you the truth, we haven't heard much about it lately. I know that we still have some constellations, I think we called them at the time, still out there working, but we'll get Mr. Romero in to give us an update on what's going on lately.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us today. So we actually tested out, and we're going to try it today. We did our presentation via a recording on WebEx, hopefully to eliminate some of the bugs. There's still some bugs with it, but I'll have Danny play our presentation. And again, I'm joined here today with Tanya Osborne from Interior Health, and the presentation will be outlined. We'll play it out, and then at the end, we can certainly answer some questions in regards to where things are at with our partnership.
Okay, thank you. Go right ahead.
So hi, everyone. Before we start, we'd just like to acknowledge that we are meeting within the converging ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Silks Nation, and also recognize our partnership with Métis Nations BC and the Métis citizens residing within our health authority.
Good morning. My name is Augusto Romero, and I'm the RDOS Regional Recreation Manager. I'm joined today by Tanya Osborne, who is a community health facilitator with Interior Health. And today we are here together to provide an update on the healthy community collaboration between the RDOS and Interior Health. The partnership between the RDOS and Interior Health was initially established back in 2012. The intent of the relationship back then included the goal to increase actions and improve the health of citizens of the regional district by reducing chronic disease and obesity, to participate as members to the Okanagan Healthy Livings Coalition, and lastly, to establish a commitment of the partnership through a letter of understanding. The initial cross-sectoral collaboration between the RDOS and Interior Health did result in benefits and numerous outcomes, but over time, the objectives of the relationship have continued to evolve. We are here today to provide updates on how this relationship has evolved. We will begin by first covering some background on the current scope of Interior.
Danny, Augusto here. Looks like we might have lost some sound.
I think you're back now.
No.
Oh.
So our hope was to have the video prepped so that we wouldn't have any tech problems. Danny, I'm not sure if we want to just walk through the presentation at this point.
Oh, we got it on.
Augusta, we have it on. We've been watching it and hearing it.
No.
Is everybody else? Riley, you're not hearing it?
I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Yes,
I agree with Riley.
Okay, we've been able to hear it in the boardroom.
Same with me. No sound, just visual.
Everyone's getting a visual. Okay.
But we had sound initially. It started out with the intro with sound and then it went mute.
Okay, we want to try again. Does that, I had muted us over here. Could that have done it, Danny?
Also, yes.
Okay, can we start it over? We will restart. So we'll just be quiet over here. But I'd avoid our rustling papers.
And the Métis citizens residing within our health authority.
Good morning. My name is Augusto Romero, and I'm the RDOS Regional Recreation Manager. I'm joined today by Tanya Osborne, who is a community health facilitator with Interior Health. And today we are here together to provide an update on the healthy community collaboration between the RDOS and Interior Health. The partnership between the RDOS and Interior Health was initially established back in 2012. The intent of the relationship back then included the goal to increase actions and improve the health of citizens of the regional district by reducing chronic disease and obesity, to participate as members to the Okanagan Healthy Livings Coalition, and lastly, to establish a commitment of the partnership through a letter of understanding. The initial cross-sectoral collaboration between the RDOS and Interior Health did result in benefits and numerous outcomes, but over time, the objectives of the relationship have continued to evolve. We are here today to provide updates on how this relationship has evolved. We will begin by first covering some background on the current scope of Interior Health and the Healthy Communities Program, and then highlight some of the initiatives the RDOS and Interior Health are working on together in building healthy communities. For this presentation, Tanya and I will bounce back and forth as presenters, and we'd be happy to answer any questions at the end. At this time, I'll pass it over to Tanya to provide an overview of Interior Health and the Healthy Communities Program.
Hello, thanks for having me here today. IH covers a large area. We serve 59 municipalities, 54 First Nations communities, 16 chartered Métis communities. This also includes 10 regional districts and 16 school districts. Our smallest community is of 195 people, and our largest is over 125,000. IH is a large organization, and most people are familiar with the service delivery aspect. We work in the small but mighty portfolio of population health, which focuses on health promotion and prevention at the community level. This is our Healthy Communities team for the South Okanagan-Similkameen area. We also have an environmental health officer who specializes in HBE, the Healthy Built Environment. That covers a regional role, and we pull her in into our group as needed. And we work at a population health level, working upstream to augment and create environments that keep healthy people healthy so they can avoid having to access the healthcare system. We work exclusively with local governments on processes, planning, facilitation, advocacy, engagement, and more. Our team is here to collaborate with Aboriginal, local, and regional governments for strong collective action to promote, improve, and protect the health and well-being of our communities. We advocate for the social determinants of health by bringing an equity lens to local government and community planning, as well as stakeholder engagement processes. We can act as a wayfinder for local governments and external clients into IH, and conversely for other IH partners into local governments and their external clients. Our Healthy Communities team is here to build and establish partnerships to support healthy community planning and action, provide health evidence and context for municipal planning processes, including rezoning applications, OCP reviews, and transportation planning. As mentioned, we can also help you to navigate the IH system. We're here to support and build capacity by supporting grant application processes. This can include writing letters of support or reviewing grant applications. We can participate in local government and or community committees, and we can help to facilitate or participate in community workshops. We also are here to share effective resources, tools, best practices, and community success stories. One way we do this is through our Healthy Communities e-newsletter that hopefully you all subscribe to. It has been recognized that the greatest contribution to health over the past 150 years has been by local governments. Neighborhood design, sanitization efforts, health promoting policy, programming, and bylaws have all helped to create healthier communities. However, we know that local governments can't do this work alone. Health is the responsibility of all sectors, not just local governments or health authorities. IH is committed to collaborate and partner with local governments and community stakeholders to create environments and healthy public policies that support community health. And by healthy public policies, I mean the development of policy in non-health sectors, such as transportation or food policy, that are designed to improve the health of the population. These types of policies are especially important at the local level because many of the factors that influence our health occur in our communities where we live, learn, work, and play. Our provincial partners at BC Healthy Communities identifies these as the key building blocks to a healthy community. So community and citizen engagement. We need to empower communities to create a shared vision, define the issues, generate solutions, take action, and evaluate. We need multi-sectoral collaboration. Building healthy communities is complex, and it involves multiple and diverse stakeholders. It also involves all sectors across all levels. We need political commitment. We need all levels of government, local, provincial, and federal. They are all involved in creating conditions for health and human development. Having asset-based community development. We need to build on existing community strengths and assets to create lasting and sustainable solutions. Healthy public policy. Policy that is explicitly designed to improve population health, not necessarily developed by the health sector. So as I mentioned previously, things like active transportation or food systems, affordable housing. And we need to take a health equity lens. It is crucial to recognize that some people disproportionately have poorer health outcomes that are unfair, unjust, avoidable, and systemic. To reduce these disparities, actions must be universal, but with more focus to those experiencing these health inequities.
So as you've heard, the Healthy Communities team supports collaboration and coordination across various sectors and factors. Foundational to healthy communities has often included the pillars of recreation and health. And what we are seeing more and more in larger, more overarching guiding documents is the inclusion of recreation and health in a symbiotic relationship.
Since the initial partnership in 2013, many collaborative efforts and projects have been realized within the regional district and many of the local municipalities. For example, Healthy Communities participated in projects such as the Penticton OCP update and the Food Secure Oliver Plan, as well in collaborations such as the Summerland Healthy Communities Initiative and the Oliver Healthy Living Coalition, both which are still active today. This strong relationship between the RDOS and Interior Health also helped spur the collaboration that occurred this past summer around creating COVID-19 protocols for the Loose Bay Campground.
Currently, the RDOS and Interior Health continue to intentionally schedule regular communications, work together on various projects and initiatives, and participate on committees together. The following two slides outline some of the current work between the RDOS and Interior Health. It wasn't too long ago when some local and provincial governments kept the conversation of recreation and health very separate. We are now in a place where recreation is recognized as a proactive approach and even a protective factor to many aspects of health. The realization that investing in recreation not only has a positive impact on health, mental and physical, but also the economy, in crime prevention, and as we mentioned, in building strong communities. Having this partnership has enhanced the work we are doing on many of our initiatives and studies as listed here. Going forward, Interior Health and the RDOS are excited to continue our partnership and look forward to building strong communities. If there are any questions, we would be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Augusto. Directors, any questions? If you could use the raised hands for that, if I may not see all of you. No questions?
Director Vasilaki has his hand up.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? No? Oh, Director Makodov, yeah.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if I could ask, COVID is the concern right now in the whole area, of course, health related. And I'm just wondering if things have been adjusted or changed, or have there been some specific things that have been stopped or changed because of COVID. And I certainly would direct this question to Tanya Osborne, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for the question. There's been a lot of different shifts that have happened within the health authority due to COVID, and while I can only really speak for my own portfolio within population health, our Healthy Communities program, the amount of support right now for communities is decreased a little bit because we have been redeployed to support the COVID tracing efforts. But we are still very much still here for the communities should anything come up. And kind of once we get through the second wave, then we'll be able to, or I will be able to have more capacity to take on even more projects within the communities. Not sure if that really answers your question, but it's hard to say from across the entire organization.
Thank you. Augusto, do I see you raise your hand there?
Yeah, maybe if I can add just a couple things from the RDOS and recreation side of it. From a COVID and the impacts of it, we continue to relook at our safety measures that are associated with our programs and our facilities, and they continue to be updated. Right now, as people are obviously watching with numbers starting to increase, we're anticipating an announcement today through the minister, through Dr. Henry and the ministry, because right now we're getting a lot of our guidance through BC Parks and Recreation. They've become kind of our overarching guide through this, and they're actually on the same group that with health at the ministry's table trying to figure out the guidelines going forward. And they've given us an indication that today's announcement may have further impacts on what we're delivering in recreation, as we've seen in the coastal areas as well as Fraser Valley. So that's something that we're waiting for on today.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from the board? I don't see any. Chair, do you see any?
I do not see any hands up.
Okay, then the Community Service Committee is adjourned. Thank you very much. Back to the chair.
Great, thank you very much, Director Bauer. We're going to move on, directors, to Corporate Services Committee. So if you can have a look at your agendas, please. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Director Robinson, thank you. Director Roberts, seconded. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, that carries. We'll go to the first item, select committees and external agency appointments, CAO.
So it's procedure for the regional district to appoint chairs and vice chairs of our select committees and our external ad hoc committees on an annual basis, Madam Chair, right after the inaugural meeting. So I understand there's been some chatter and that we've asked for those interested to submit their names, and now we have a slate of appointments that were attached to the agenda that we are recommending be approved.
Correct. So we did have some changes put in place, and just wondering if there's any questions or concerns or recommendations from those changes that you see in front of you. Having a look, not seeing any hands up. Oh, Director Gettins, go ahead, please.
Great, thank you to the chair. The BC Rural Center is still listed as a committee, and I've been the responsible one for that one. And we haven't had a meeting since I've been elected, and I don't think they will be meeting. So I don't think they're going to keep going.
Okay, so are you suggesting that we should take that off of the list?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the process is to do that, but I did have a pretty long call with the executive director, and they're going into just doing documentation collection online, and I haven't heard any updates since. So I don't know if we need to check in with them again, but I haven't probably talked to them for like well over a year and a half. Right.
So would it be fair to leave it for now, and you could follow up, Director Gettins, with them to see what could be, may be occurring, and if it's nothing that we're going to be involved in, then we could remove it, but maybe there is something that will continue to happen moving forward.
Sure, I'll check in with them.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I see Director Bauer. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, same goes for that water committee through the UBC. I'm already working with the leading professor, Janmat, on a completely different project. I don't think that committee is active at all, but we should definitely, go through the official channels and find out where it is.
Right. Okay. So that's the one that lists Director Holmes, the UBCO Water Research Chair Advisory Committee. So that is something that we could look into as well, and see if that should come off the list. Director Holmes, did I see your hand up, or were you going to say the same thing?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I've never reached out to him ever about that, and I don't even know who the contact person is. So.
Okay, so maybe we could follow up on that. Director Roberts, go ahead, please.
Thank you to the chair. Would it be appropriate to put a policy or a procedure in place that there's an evaluation, whether or not it's once a year or it's once every couple of years, to go over all the committees and find out whether or not they are active? Like if we have it installed in a policy or procedure versus just kind of like guessing?
Go ahead, CAO.
Well, rather than do a formal policy, why don't we just say if they're dormant for a year, we take them off the list?
Yeah, that makes sense. So why don't we, because we've got 2 here that we're questioning, we could follow up on those to be certain and take them off the list. I was originally going to recommend that we take the list today and move it on to our board meeting to formally adopt it today, but we could hold off on that till the next board meeting and see if we can find this out in the meantime, and then bring forward the list if it's changed to the December 3rd board meeting. Would that be okay? Or what?
Generally, it's the ad hoc body that requests a member of the board to sit on it. So if they're not active, I would just take them off.
We could take them off now then, and if it came back,
They could request again.
if they request again to have a representative from our board, then we could put it back on the list.
Sure.
So going to both Director Gettins and Director Holmes, then are you comfortable with that? Okay, I see a thumbs up from Director Holmes, a nod from Director Gettins. Okay, so then why don't we take those off for now? And then if they request us back, we will reappoint somebody in the future. Are there any other suggestions or comments on this list? I'm not seeing any, so therefore I'm looking for a motion to approve this list of appointees, and we'll say as amended with the removal of the UBCO Water Research Chair Advisory Committee, and what is the name of the other one? The BC Rural Center Committee. I see Director Bush. Are you moving that, Director Bush? Great, thank you. And looking for a seconder. Director Bauer, I see your hand up. Great. Any further questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. And is anybody opposed? Excellent. So that carries as amended. And that, if there's nothing further, that takes us to adjournment on corporate services. So we have protective services next, and we're missing 5 RCMP officers, but we are ahead of schedule. So they know that they're on for 10 o'clock. So folks, if you want to just have a short break and grab a coffee, and maybe pop back in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They're usually early, and we could start possibly a few minutes early. Okay, thank you very much. And Okay, good morning, directors. As you can see, we have 5 RCMP officers in the room with us, and I'm going to turn things over to Chair Holmes for Protective Services.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Director Roberts, second by Director McCortoff. All in favor? Is anybody opposed? None. That's carried. So we have our attached report, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Hunter. Welcome.
Thank you, Director Holmes. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're saying yes.
Perfect. No, thank you very much, and to the board for having us here today. Like last time, I brought in our area detachment commanders, and I thought it was a really good fit and an opportunity to have discussions, especially if there's things pertinent to specific areas. So after I say a few words, we'll go counterclockwise around the room. Corporal Brian Evans will represent Oliver and Karamias. Rob Hughes will be next talking about Princeton, and then Jason Beta will talk about Soyuz, and then Dave Preston was not here last time, but he's here today. We'll talk everything Summerland. So we're not going to go through the numbers specifically. Everyone has received the report. I will talk just some trends at the Penticton detachment, within the city, and I've already provided that report to Mayor and Council. We had a significant uptick in serious assault with a weapon. And that was attributed and continues to be attributed to the drug subculture in Penticton, street level drug dealers. These are people that are known to each other, be it bear spray was a common weapon that they were using. Definitely concerning, but I need to stress that the majority of those, they knew each other, and it's part of that culture. I've talked lots about COVID and the impact and the anecdotal philosophies of why property crime is down, and it's down significantly in Penticton detachment area. And I talked about federal money in the community negating the need to commit crimes and that type of thing. I will say in the last 4 weeks, we've seen an uptick in property crime in all the regions in Penticton detachment, and our other area commanders can maybe speak on their areas. But for sure in our rural areas in Penticton, you'll see bicycle thefts were up in the rural area. Continues to be a problem. Electric bikes, some of these bikes are $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $12,000. And we have recovered quite a few of them. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see somebody that can't afford a $12,000 bike riding them around town. So we're managing it as best we can. I want to see the increased use of Garage 529 in our community. It's through a website. It's a program registering your bicycles, and it's a deterrent of theft. And then once your bike is stolen, it gives us a better opportunity to recover it. I plan on bringing a marketing education awareness campaign in the community, especially moving forward to next summer. I want to meet with the breweries in town. I want to give them opportunities. A lot of people ride their bikes around as part of the culture we want to create in this community, and clearly we're working on bike lanes and that type of thing. So it's something that we're going to work on at the detachment. One of the COVID impacts operationally for us is when it comes to remanding some of our clients in custody after they commit a crime. Unless it's a very, very significant crime that relates to the safety of people, it's very difficult to have people remanded. A good example of that is not that long ago, we arrested a client with a stolen vehicle. In the stolen vehicle was stolen property. There were drugs, firearms, a prolific offender with a significant criminal record. They were arrested, and then they were released on conditions the next day. So that's just part of the recidivism that we have to deal with. It can get a little bit frustrating, but the members, they continue to do what they have to do, which includes, we've set up quite a few projects, including the rural area. doing surveillance on some of our prolific offenders, and we're getting some great results out of that in regards to arrests and charges. It's just not necessarily everyone gets remanded in custody. So those are some of the issues we're dealing with. I do want to announce to the board that I have selected the new sergeant who will be the commander for Oliver detachment. The name will be familiar to a lot of the folks in the board here. He's currently working at the Penticton Detachment, Corporal Don Wigglesworth. Don has been in the region for quite some time. In fact, quite a few years ago, he was posted in Oliver. So Don comes with 21 years of experience, definitely a very community-minded member. He will be in place in Oliver before Christmas. I'm committing to that. It's very exciting for Don and for the detachment. As well, I've also selected a corporal, the second in command for Oliver Detachment. This person is currently a corporal at Langley Detachment. Paul Simon is his name. Comes with a lot of experience in prolific offender management, crime reduction, street crime enforcement, and we're very excited to bring that expertise to Oliver. As we know, all of our communities experience prolific offenders, and Oliver certainly has their fair share. So that's the management team that's going to be coming to Oliver, which is great news. And Brian, he's in the room here. Unbelievable job of running 2 detachments for the last several months, and will continue to be there until Dawn arrives. And Brian, I do thank you for that. Absolutely outstanding job that you've done there. That's it, just for a summary of what's happening Penticton-wise. Certainly any questions or comments, please fire away.
Okay, any questions for the superintendent?
Riley's got her hand up.
Sorry, who?
Director Gittins.
Okay, Director Gittins, sorry, go ahead.
Great, thank you to the chair. That's great news for Oliver. I've worked with Sergeant Wigglesworth before, so that's pretty great. I also just wanted to say I think it's great that the area commanders came here, and just from a rural perspective, it would be excellent to see our liaison sometimes as well. I did want to give our liaison in Area F a shout out, Sergeant Bayless. He has been great to work with, super responsive, has helped me out with 2 issues already, and really keeps me in the loop. So I really like that approach that you've taken with that liaison program. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. He actually wanted to be here today, and I think it would be a great idea if he was here. I just wanted to be very careful with the COVID and the numbers. So my vision is, if we're able to next time, certainly it appears there's plenty of room in this room to have both Sergeant Bayless and Sergeant Penny here as well. I agree with you, and I think the liaison program is working well, and it's a good opportunity for us as a complete team here with all of our partners to have that discussion. So I appreciate that input.
Chair Holmes, I believe Director Vasilaki had his hand up.
Okay, Director Vasilaki, go ahead, please.
No, it's okay. I'll discuss my questions at a later time with Superintendent Hunter. Thank you. But he's doing a fantastic job at the City of Penticton and throughout the whole area. So I'm very proud of the choice that we made for a commander. Thank you.
Yeah, Director Vasilaki, I'm not sure if you looked at your calendar, but you're buying me a coffee Monday morning at 10 o'clock.
I've got it. I've got it.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions before we move on? No? Okay, so Superintendent Hunter, please carry on.
Okay, introduce Corporal Brian Evans, and I really encourage, after Brian says a few words, if you have some questions of Brian, feel free to ask him those questions. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Since we finished off with Oliver, I'll speak to Oliver. It's been a good quarter for Oliver, and I presented to council the other week on our numbers. So things are looking up, and overall the numbers are down, just kind of they are in many jurisdictions. PRCP right now as far as COVID times, and some of the numbers are generally down, but overall they're significantly down in Oliver, and I attribute that to the members working hard and holding them accountable through the challenges of what the superintendent was talking about, some of our challenges with the courts and releases, and that the members continue to keep the pressure on those prolific offenders. That's been very good. We've had, we had a few more serious incidents that did happen, but we have the support from our major crime unit that's come in to assist with that in the last few months. So been great support from them and from Penticton Regional, some of the plainclothes units there. So it's been good to bring that support in and address those more serious files. So that's been very good for Oliver, and I'm excited that the community is going to have some new commander and a new corporal in there to bring some stability long term to that detachment. So that's a really positive thing. I'm excited about that as well. I know the members are looking forward to that stability as well. So that's all I have to comment about Oliver right now, and open up for any questions about Oliver.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Corporal Evans?
Director
Johansson.
You're muted.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Go for it.
Yeah, no questions at this time, but just a big thank you to Brian for stepping up when Blaine stepped down there. I'm very encouraged with the numbers that are coming out of Oliver. For sure, it looks like we're definitely trending in the right direction, and very excited to hear that Don is going to be the new sergeant, and look forward to a face-to-face with him in the near future, for sure, and the new corporal coming in as well. So kudos to everybody involved. Definitely, we'd like to do another citizen survey this year. I know that policing was a big issue in our last citizen survey, so really interested to see the comments from the citizens, because that's really where the rubber hits the road, and how people are feeling safe in their community. So again, a big thank you, and looking forward to Dawn coming.
Okay, thank you, Director Johansson. Director Connell, did you have a question, comment?
He's taken his hand down.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I think he's on his phone.
Okay.
So.
All right. So if there's no other questions for Corporal Evans, we can move on. Who would be next?
Okay.
Yeah.
Me again for Karamias this time. So
okay.
I'll speak to Karamias. So we report just twice a year to council in Karamias. So this is a little bit different with the quarter three stats, but numbers are a little more varied there, and certainly a few areas of concern. We had a major incident there with the shooting that happened in Karamias in one of our problem residences. Again, we've had some great support from Penticton plainclothes units came in and assisted with that investigation, and they're working towards the charge approval, so that's very good. We hear about that residence. I know the mayor, Bauer, is with me, or I was with him at the Coffee with the Mayor event there a few weeks ago, and brought up some concerns around that residence were brought up by the neighborhood. So we're working towards solutions there, and I've forwarded off some materials to the mayor and the CAO about some options that we may have, or that they may want to look into, and as far as bylaws and things that can be done to help sort things up there and address that problem property. But otherwise in Karamias, things are good. There has been some, we've been short-staffed somewhat with some sick people off on for a little while. So we've had a few people coming in from outside the area to support the operations there, which has been good. We filled all the shifts, but I'd like you to know that soon we're going to be back fully staffed. So we have one of our officers who's been off for some time due to an injury. He's just coming back this week, and working to get our other officer back to duty as soon as possible. So, but in that time, we're still supporting the community 100% and making sure that we have officers there to respond as needed.
Okay, thank you. Any questions regarding the Karamisa? Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you, Corporal Evans, for being so involved with our community, and the coffee with the mayor is always a great opportunity. And just for the board, last time we had a whole neighborhood coming to the coffee to talk about a problem they have in their residence. So those kind of events are really beneficial and a great opportunity. And we're certainly looking forward, Corporal, to have you back 100%. I've only one question, and that's I see that fraud is quite up still. What kind of fraud are we talking about?
We'll be talking about those scams that are coming over the internet or over the telephone. So victimizing seniors, kind of telemarketing or computer-based fraud.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Don't see any other questions. Any other hands? Nope. So we can move on, carry on.
Yep, we'll go to Sergeant Hughes at Princeton Detachment.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us again. What's new in Princeton? We do have a new member, Constable Megan Nutt, who graduated Depot November 16th. So she'll be starting, she starts this Saturday. So as her first posting, which brings us up to a full house of seven members of the Princeton Detachment. Hasn't been that way in a long time. Had this conversation with Spencer a few times, but we actually, for a couple of days, we had one extra member, a guy that was going out on pat leave. So we'll be full for a while now. Some of the initiatives that have gone on around the Princeton area are the Tulameen ATV issue. We did a new permit this summer, and it seems to have been a success. The calls for service, calls for complaints about the ATVs and ripping around town are down. And there was, in the outlying towns out in the mountains, there was a couple of crashes this year with ATVs, but nothing too serious, and definitely nothing in town. So that we're calling that one a big success. So that will keep on. With the permits this year, we intentionally made them expire next year on April 31st, so that we can take them away if we needed to be. But we're now extending those for another year. As far as Headley is concerned, calls for service. Director Roberts we've talked about this a few times. Calls for service there are still low. We have been fortunate enough to have some of the repeat offenders leave town, so that the offenses there are down right now, I believe. It's always going to be a challenge, just with the distance that Headley is from town, and having that community engagement. The community forum we held last year in November was a big success, and then now with COVID, we just haven't been able to have those type of forums again. So I don't know if there's something that we could do virtually at one of the halls or something there, but we can talk with Director Roberts about that. The biggest thing on the front of Princeton in the last month was the missing person, the missing hiker in Manning Park. Lots of challenges there with that being multi-jurisdictional, as UBC detachment, Vancouver Police being municipal police force, Princeton RCMP, of course. And then we had EMBC, SAR, we had search and rescue, and I will probably not remember them all, but there was Ridge Meadows, North Van, Kelowna, Kamloops. People that have been ticked in. We had search dogs, we had helicopters, Hummingbird drones were in there, and that just it went on for nearly a month. Unbelievable, amazing effort. We had those conference calls daily or every 2 days at least, and the effort that was put in there by all the volunteers just amazed me every day. That was my first missing person of that kind of magnitude, and seeing everybody work together like that was just absolutely amazing to me. So that's about all I've got for Princeton right now. We got some of our numbers, there's some questions about the numbers. Some of them look on paper to be not so great because of the big red blob they put beside them, but the numbers are fairly low. Like shoplifting goes over last year from 1 to 3, which is 200%. And again, like Superintendent Hunter said, our assaults are up, but again, those are mostly people that are involved in the drug subculture and again, known to each other. These are stranger events. And again, with that involvement. That's about what I have for Princeton.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Sergeant Hughes?
Director Roberts has his hand up.
Director Roberts, please go ahead.
Well, thank you to the chair, and I just again would like to thank Sergeant Hughes for the efforts. And yes, and Headley really did appreciate the event last November, and of course we are looking with hope to the future on how we can have some more interaction with community. Again, just really appreciating the effort that was taken.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Coyne.
There we go. Yeah, Sergeant Hughes, could you speak briefly about the auto theft? I noticed that's pretty high.
Yes, so auto theft went from 7 to 19, which is I'm getting old here, 129% increase over last year. So that goes a little bit part in hand with theft from autos. We had quite a boost in theft from autos as well. Most of those auto theft files seem to be people coming from Penticton or coming from the Lower Mainland or coming from the Okanagan and dropping vehicles in Penticton, switching rather than filling it up with fuel and getting caught on camera. They were dropping the vehicles, stealing something local, and then leaving town. It doesn't appear to be local people in Princeton stealing vehicles and joyriding around. Most of the vehicles were located in either, some of them were in Karamea, somewhere in Penticton, one in Hope and a couple in Chilliwack. So not our locals, it seemed to be transients coming through, and that kind of where we were thinking the TFA's the theft from autos came from as well, people breaking into vehicles to steal change and for fuel and such. Hopefully that answers that.
Yep, thank you.
Good.
Princeton makes a good pit stop.
Yeah, there's no fuel quite a ways in any direction, so.
Any further questions? Okay, so who's next?
We'll go to Sergeant Jason Beta in charge of Soyuz.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Yeah, Soyuz for these quarter staffs to July 1st to September 30th. We had a very busy quarter, 300 or close to 300 plus calls compared to the year previous, and kind of contribute that to the closure of the border and most people being encouraged to travel locally, or at least through the summertime, and a lot of tourists coming to Soyuz and enjoying the good weather. So 300 more calls is going to increase certainly our numbers in certain areas. Fortunately for us, so we actually went down in property crime during that same period. So I'm thankful that our biggest increase in property crime was theft from vehicle. But when I look at the stats, there's 20 theft from vehicles for the quarter. Only 2 of those vehicles we can actually confirm were physically broken into. 7 we confirmed were unlocked vehicles, and another 7 of them weren't actually broken into. Was stolen license plates and valve tags. So, but what I take from that is that a very small number of locked vehicles were broken into, and that's one of the things that we're trying to get out to the public is the importance to lock your vehicles and secure your valuables and put your valuables out of sight, and that should help reduce some of these property crimes and certainly protect persons' properties. The violent offenses were up 47%. over last year. The biggest increase was uttering threats, but when I looked at the 12 files that we had, the majority of those really pertain to arguments between friends and family, as well as a few neighbor disputes. Sex offenses was my biggest concern, because those are offenses that really have a long-term or lifelong effect on a person. I looked at all eight of those files, and although sex offenses are all serious, these were on the less serious side. And what I mean by that is none of these were stranger assaults, persons pulled into the bushes or pulled off a sidewalk. These were all people known to each other. And one of them at this point that we are requesting charges on, and that was it was a touching incident at a workplace. So again, still concerning, because those are something that could affect someone lifelong. And so we're investigating those to the fullest extent we can. And other than that, again, just very, very busy quarter for us. But overall, pleased with the property crime numbers, how they've dropped. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Director McCordoff.
Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate Sergeant Beta coming to council, which he did this week, where we have an option to have him on a live feed on our community as a whole, so people can hear what he has to say. And he's very good about coming and answering questions. So the other thing that I'd like to point out is that this summer, Sergeant Beta and all our crew in Asuyas were out in their boats quite often, complimenting people, as I understand, when they were doing things correctly and when they were obeying the rules and wearing protective life jackets and that type of thing. And also giving help to people who were concerned about crossing the border or not. And of course, you can't do that in a boat anymore. So we certainly appreciate all the help that we have from the Asuyas detachment, and we certainly appreciate Sergeant Beta coming and giving us updates. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. And I think it is important for people to know, when you look at the top 10 calls for service, you're correct, the marine instance is right at the top with 173, but it's important, like you mentioned there, that is proactive policing. That's going out, and that's 173 contacts with people, ensuring that they're boating safely, and if they're missing some of their equipment, that we ensure that they get it so they can remain safe on the water and really bring down actual marine injuries or incidents on the water. So although the number is high, those are proactive enforcement, and that's what reduced our actual incidents on the water this year. So.
Okay, thank you. Any
hey, Director Holmes? Yeah, Director Watts has his hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Director Watts.
Thank you. Through the chair, again, I thank all of our representatives for coming and giving us updates. You touched on the topic of breaking into cars or theft from vehicle that, for the most part, was a high percentage of vehicles that were left unlocked. And I know that a couple of years ago in Penticton, I had raised the point that I believe of 900 man hours based on theft from vehicles, 400 or 450 of those, so basically half of that, was based on calls because people had left their car unlocked, their iPad on their passenger seat, and because they want to get it insured, they've got RCMP members coming out, and I just feel that's such a waste of resources. And I know I got victim blaming was what got thrown at me, but ultimately I wonder if there's an education piece that we could maybe use regionally to make sure that these little things. I mean, I hate the idea of an RCMP officer being used ultimately, to be very honest, for the sake of an insurance claim when they have so much better things to do. So I just wanted to put that out there to see if there was something we might be able to do. Thank you.
I'll actually speak to that. Thank you, Director Watts. It's You can Google me throughout my policing career, and it's the bane of my existence. I agree with you. This is not victim blaming. We need to do a better job of locking our vehicles and removing all of the valuables. So we're fortunate Sergeant Beta is one of our media relations folks who do educational awareness, and we're gonna keep doing it. And I guess I'm saying I can't disagree with you. It's very, very frustrating. There's a limited number of police resources out there, and we'd be better served for crimes that are occurring, not the ones that can be prevented, like theft from vehicles. So we'll continue to do what we can for sure.
And I think it goes further too. When we're talking theft from vehicles, we're talking about also theft of vehicles, and some of the vehicles, for a good percentage of vehicles that are stolen with keys in them. Some vehicles even left running. So again, it is an education piece that certainly, like Superintendent Hunter said, we are promoting, and through my media side, I can certainly help promote that further.
Thank you very much. Thanks for both the answers. Again, what a waste of resources. And to take it a step further, I wonder if there might even be communication with the insurance companies, because ultimately they're the ones that are also paying for this. So it might be even a joint effort.
Okay, thank you, Director Coyne.
Thank you. Staying on the same track here, Sergeant Hughes, those auto thefts out of the Princeton area, how many of those do you think were unlocked vehicles?
Most of the ones that I looked at were unlocked vehicles. We actually, a little bit of a funny story about the theft from auto situation in Princeton is some of it was, we believe, was contributed to a group of locals who were confronted by who we'll refer to as a local mom, who at 1 o'clock in the morning shone her flashlight out and saw one of these people and two of their friends around some motorhomes and some camper trailers, called out to the person. They left. They went into her business the next day, and she called him on it, quite vocally and maybe borderline abusive, and it stopped immediately. So one of the best things about being in a small town is everybody knows everybody, and one of the worst things about being in a small town is everybody knows everybody. So some of the theft from autos were we believe were attributed to the clients that were coming in and stealing vehicles and using for transportation in and out. We do believe there was a small group of locals, and again, but to answer your question, yes, most of them are unlocked vehicles. I have a background, I had 6 years in Lower Mainland in auto theft, and the amount of people that leave a set of keys in their vehicle in case they lose their main set of keys, and vehicles that are stolen with keys is outstanding. A bunch of these, most of these vehicles that were stolen were unlocked, just left in people's driveways. And then we get as the winter progresses, we're getting now for the next quarter, staffed people that are leaving their vehicles running in their driveway, and somebody walking by and jumping in and getting going. There's the slogan "Lockout Auto Crime" that I'm sure Sergeant Beta knows all about. That's where we're at with that.
I think it's also important to, as you know through some of your time in auto theft section, is we get a lot of calls of people checking doors or checking vehicles, a suspicious person checking vehicles. But when they're checking into the vehicle, they're checking to get into it to steal something. If they're checking it and it's locked and they're walking by, that person's stuff is safe, majority of the time. So it's just another part of the educational piece that, people need to lock their valuables and certainly keep them out of sight.
Yeah, the element that's walking down the side of the road and checking door handle after door handle, they know most new cars have alarms. The lights are going to come on when they open the door in new stuff. But if it's not locked, they can put the door. If the light doesn't come on, they can just climb in and grab whatever they want. So locking your doors is a huge thing. And like I said before, most of these are unlocked vehicles.
Okay, thank you. So a few more, Director Olbrich, then Director Robinson, and then Director Watt. Go ahead, Director Olbrich.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
No.
Oh, thank you very much, through the chair. 3 comments arising from Director Watt's comments and with respect to the RCMP comments. First, I absolutely agree that we should not victim blame, and I really support those comments, and I think it's real important that we take care in that regard. People who are victims of crime have a hard enough time without being blamed when things happen. The second point is I really support the comments of Director Watt that we need to find a better way, and that's working the RCMP and the insurance industry and community, what we can do together. We have options like Citizens on Patrol, and community members really care about this stuff. They're willing to participate. I think better is possible, and I support those suggestions. And finally, on the third point, I think this one has been missed. The police also have a job to do. And we have to remember that when crime happens, the public really appreciate when the police show up, investigate and arrest criminals, and they get a consequence. And so we have to be real careful in saying this is insurance matter only. It's so much more than that. And if we dismiss it that way, the public, and I'm speaking about ratepayers in Area D specifically, they want to see more than that. And so we have to find a better way. But I want to be real careful because the what we have suffered in Area D for too long is, and we're working to fix it. I know Superintendent Hunter, I've spoken to him very briefly on this, and I spoke more with Superintendent DeJagger. But in our area specifically, we need a better experience. I really appreciate all the work being done. Sergeant Bayless has been in contact by email. We haven't met personally. COVID has been a speed bump, slowed everything down. I think it may have slowed some crime down as well. But I want to say thank you very, very much for the work being done by the RCMP. It's very much appreciated. But we have to be careful because in our area, we have had a history of not receiving as good service as the public has expected. And that's, we can talk more in private at another time, but this is a significant issue for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Director Roberk. Director Robinson, please.
Good morning. Whoa, there's some serious feedback.
Can we just hold for a moment? Danny, Director Robinson.
Hello, how's that? Oh.
Or you want, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Director Robinson.
Okay, how's that?
That's much better.
Good.
Yay. I've been having nothing but technical difficulties this morning, even getting on this morning. Anyway, to the point, I just wanted to share with the group that the Penticton Safety and Security Committee has been talking about and working on getting some educational programs going with regard to thefts and stolen bicycles and a variety of different things. but it occurred, our major problem has been with the COVID, of course. It's hard to put on a public event anywhere to put one of those programs in place. But it occurs to me that perhaps we should be going in a different direction, going through social media. So my ears perked up when I heard one of the gentlemen speaking about that this morning, and perhaps I will put a bug in someone's ear at Safety and Security Committee to get together with the social media coordinator from the RCMP and see if we can go in that direction to get an educational program out there to remind the public to do things like lock cars and not leave anything in sight. And see where that goes. So that was a good tip this morning. Thank you for that one.
Okay, thank you. And Director Watt, please.
Thanks, Chair. I didn't mean to have my hand up again. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. No problem. Okay, so if there's no, maybe we can move on then.
Certainly, we'll go to Sergeant Dave Preston from Summerland Detachment.
Saving the best for last, I think, is sort of what the strategy was.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is interesting to know, obviously, the similarities that as all the area commanders are talking, and how a lot of it is similar in all of our areas. But so I'll go through Summerland. Summerland, our calls for service did go up 26%, and then kind of breaking it down and sort of discussing sort of in relation to our priorities within our priorities. Domestic violence that went up. That was the big one that shows 250%. But obviously, with that number, we're talking 2 versus in this past quarter 7. And for us, we know that is in particular with one couple. And it was a repeat occurrence with this particular couple. And so that would be that. Total violent crime total 75% increase. If I look at that, and then the percentage increases relative to the kind of the it is kind of low when you compare it to, it's kind of somewhat consistent with just the increase of calls for service. Let's see what else. The property crimes, I mean, everyone touched on the auto thefts and the theft from motor vehicle, and you're right, the public awareness and the education bit of it. I think I put out a media release on theft from motor vehicles, and it's the same. It is the same thing that we deal with, that we try to encourage and educate our citizens to lock their vehicles. And we've also started an initiative with working with the citizens on patrol that we hand out these little tickets that we put on go to the parking lots, and they put if there's any items that are visible to and it's just an education bit just to hide their belongings, or if it's unlocked, and because it is surprising how many vehicles are left unlocked. And I can speak even on our theft from their auto theft, which did have an increase. I know of 3 that I dealt with that the keys were left in the ignition or in the vehicle. So it is something that is concerning, and I think it is also something that's probably not reported enough, because people are somewhat reluctant to tell us that the keys were left in the vehicle. So there's that challenge as well. Our highest number of calls for service are traffic incidents. We have started an initiative, and maybe even a part of the reason why we have an increased number of calls is that we have tackled that area of enforcement along the highway and around Summerland, and we have just in this past quarter, we've seen a 700% increase in the amount of RFPs that the members have issued. So obviously with those increases, that increases the total calls for service as well. That's more of a kind of a proactive thing that we're doing. As far as our resources, we continue to be under our allotment. We are getting a new member in December from Chilliwack, so that's gonna help us out quite a bit. We managed the summer months pretty well, and it's yeah. So I'm just trying to think of anything else that we did the increase of calls for service. We did start the online crime reporting. Unfortunately, that didn't, I wouldn't say reflect the increase, because we've only had 12 calls, 12 files generated, for this online crime reporting. It is something that we're probably going to, we're going to keep putting it out in there in the media and trying to increase that. As Director Watt said, to try and alleviate or eliminate some of the resource, the time that members have to spend on some of the files that we don't necessarily need to go to. The other thing that I'll touch on, an increased calls for services, we have had a couple, an apartment building that has generated just in itself 25 calls for service. Another resident on Highway 97 and Jones Flat Road, that was another big chunk of numbers. And and obviously what comes with that is to what Superintendent Hunter touched on was, some of the issues, not issues, but with the courts and releases. And if an individual is released from court, and they come back into our community and there's another 5-10 files that are generated, we are going to see an increase. So that's somewhat attributed to that. Another thing, which I would say, like I say, it's a 26% increase. To me, I don't see that as significant, especially considering all those things that I touched on. But even in addition, I did, since getting into Summerland a year and a half ago, I have really pushed generating files. If someone calls in and they're, making a report of this or that, maybe in the past the file wasn't generated, whereas now it is. So it's just trying to really document all of the occurrences that are happening in some of them. Our property crime, like I say, if you were to sort of just take away the auto theft and the theft from motor vehicles, there was actually a decrease in property crime. So that was we went from 78 files to, or 84 to 78. Any questions?
Any questions for Sergeant Preston? I have one, if I may. So I was just wondering if it's probably too early to tell, but the new barriers on the highway, have you noticed any impact on what effect on traffic that has had?
As I was driving out here, we had a motor vehicle accident on that stretch. I don't think it was significant. It was just a semi going into a vehicle, but as far as
no big deal.
But it wasn't. Yeah, there was no injuries or anything like that. I haven't noticed a big increase. Obviously it's something that we were going to have to watch, and maybe a different approach in how we sort of deal with it. I've noticed just driving the highway that you'll see people speeding excessively, but you can't turn around. So it's obviously going to have some new challenges, and we're going to have to look at that in the future.
Mm-hmm. Maybe less head-ons though. And I also wanted to ask about the online crime reporting. Is that something that was initiated in Summerland, or is it rolled out across the whole region?
No, it's rolled. I would imagine that's is that division wide or nationally? I'm not sure, but I know it's definitely divisionally. You know, so it's. I don't.
Yeah, not every detachment has it. We're doing phased approaches in consultation with the detachment commander, who certainly knows their calls for service and if it's going to be of a benefit. So the reason there's not a lot, say for Summerland, number one, it's new. Number two, the criteria for an online crime reporting right now is very, very narrow what you can report. We want to roll these things out in a gentle way. We want it to be successful. And then as people are more accustomed to the process, then we're going to expand the categories of crimes that can be reported on online. But certainly most of the detachments in our region are moving forward with it. And I know in Penticton, not just per capita, we are in the top 3 in the entire province of online crime reporting. So Penticton community has really embraced it, which I got to tell you, I think it's a testament. The community realizes how stretched we are for police resources, and they're really utilizing it. So I see in the years to come, we're going to expand what's reportable there, and we're going to see a lot more of it, which will free up our officers to be hands-on with the other crimes in the community.
Okay, thank you. Director Roberts.
Thank you to the chair. I just want to use this opportunity to ask the question around social media. There, you're looking at it as a tool there, but as we've had we're discussing earlier with Sergeant Hughes, the challenges around connecting with community. Are there, like I know, we have Zoom, we have WebEx, we have all these different tools, but a lot of times the general public doesn't use that. Are there ways of getting onto like a community Facebook page with rules and regulations on a private, I don't know. I'm just wondering whether they're developed policies and procedures, read that kind of consultative process in the community. I know it's a challenge.
Roberts, I'll answer that. When it comes to anything social media, or anything media-wise, especially social media is something that has to be monitored basically 100% of the time. If we're going to put it out there, if we're going to put something out there for people to connect with us, we need to be able to respond to them. So if they, because someone may use it to report a crime instead of using the telephone or different ways. And if we're not responding to them, then it's not an effective tool. So a very small detachment like Soyuz, Princeton, Oliver, we don't have the resources to run a detachment Facebook page. We're not 24-hour policing, and we don't have that extra body to sit in front of the computer the whole time. So it makes it difficult.
Oh, okay.
But certainly, if a small detachment, trying to get some feedback. Certainly, if a small detachment wants something put on social media, I can do that through our province-wide distribution list, our E-Division social media. Twitter is our big one that we seem to be getting most of the connections with. But so yeah, certainly all the commanders know that they can contact me to use or put anything out on social media. More of a wide distribution list. So.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that, it's about kind of like the town hall meeting concept. It's problematic. I know. It's just wondering how, and you use that in a town hall process. Is that something better structured in a Twitter than it is on a Facebook page, let's say?
Yeah, it's the issue we're having right now is most people are using Zoom, and that's not something that the RCMP is using at this point. So I don't know if, sir, if you have a thought on a different program, or if you've heard of one. I haven't heard of one that we can use public-wide yet, but that's the only. I agree with you. There are ways to do a public forum online, and we just have to look at what's what tool or media platform is best to do that with. We were, I mean, as Mayor McCordiff knows, we were talking about doing a public forum in Osoyoos this year, and as every place probably has been planning, the COVID puts things by the wayside. So different ways of doing it. Certainly, if we can look at it, we're open to it.
Okay, one final question, Director Monteith, please.
To the chair, one of the communities that I represent is Twin Lakes, and they recently had an experience where they had a utility worker that was going door to door, and the vehicle, I guess, wasn't really well marked, and it created quite a stir in the community. And of course, they went to social media to sort of, you know, share that concern. It took hours before somebody really reported it, you know, so I guess I'm wondering, is that normal for utility workers to not be operating in marked vehicles? What they're expected to do with a community when they're working in a community? Is there some sort of notice that is shared? And when we have a report of that and residents realize that, you know, it's really not a concern, that it is a legitimate worker that's going door to door, is there a way to share that broadly so that the residents feel more at ease? Because it really took days before people were calmer and understood that the worker was there doing his job. And I guess there was some information in the media about a situation that was not a legitimate worker. So I guess I'm looking for some support and some way to support my residents on that. Thanks.
It's Brian here. I appreciate the comments, and I can't disagree. It's really important, and we communicate this out through our media venues and certainly community partners like yourself. If you're not comfortable with something, someone challenge them and tell them to go away. The onus is on them to properly identify themselves and prove who they are with proper identification. If there's a significant push in a community that people are going around and the police are aware of it, we will say, for example, in Penticton, we would let council know, and they could put it on their their website or Facebook page. Hey, just so you know, in the next week there are canvassers going around, that type of thing. It's not something that the police are going to own, though. The company should own this. If it's a significant issue, we're certainly going to do out a media release. I know Sergeant Beta has done media releases before for similar things happening in a community. What's really important, especially for yourself, Director Monteith, get in touch with the detachment right away if you have some concerns, and we can help you with some communication with that. But it's the company owners. They know better in this day and age. Nobody trusts anybody coming to their door anymore, and they need to do a better job.
Okay, thank you. I see the boardroom has its hand up.
Yeah, Chair Holmes, Director Census has a question.
Thank you. Actually, I have a comment and a question. The comment would be to be supportive of the call for education around the locked cars. And I'll tell you, my own anxiety is that people need to start taking responsibility and be accountable for themselves. Good gracious, we have to legislate them to wear a seatbelt. We have to legislate them to wear a helmet, you know, in cycling. And it bothers me greatly that the rest of the communities looking to you for help for serious situations. And I'm not saying that, you know, their instance of the car being broken into isn't important to them. But in the overall landscape, they take you away when in fact they're responsible. And I appreciated what Director Obrick said. You know, you don't want to point fingers at people and blame them. But as I say again, my anxiety is that the community at large needs to take responsibility for something they can make a difference in. And so the education to keep the vehicles locked, keep stuff that's of value in the trunk or at least not in sight. And I just think we have to keep on that one, and hopefully they will start buying in. My question though is about your wellness checks. And I so understand the frustration around that whole process. And I saw some of the reports spoke to them, some of them didn't. So how is that proceeding? I know you've been calling for help as your officers are often without the support that they need in these cases. is there something the RDOS can do to help with that call for assistance? Or where are you at and what do you see on the horizon to make this a safer situation for the officers, for the people involved, for the whole thing? Because it's not something that was a major issue many years ago, but it certainly is forefront now.
Well, thank you. Through the chair. You know, our healthcare providers can't do this by themselves. The police shouldn't be doing this by ourselves because we're not subject matter experts with this. With that, we have a great working relationship with Interior Health here. I personally meet with Carl Meadows monthly to discuss issues and strategize, and wellness checks are one of them. We're implementing a program here at the detachment, working with mental health nurses, psychiatric nurses, to assist us with these calls. It's not a full-time program like Kamloops and Kelowna has, where we have a mental health worker embedded with a police officer. The PACT program is what they call it. But we're moving toward a hybrid of that, where we are going to get the support from Interior Health. And this is all about the wellness of our community members. It's all about really minimizing the requirement for us to use force in these situations, which is a last resort, but unfortunately it can happen very quickly. And the hope is, with the assistance of these Interior Health experts, that component is minimized significantly, and I'm very excited about it.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. I'm afraid we've run out of time. We have a board meeting that we have to start now. So if I could thank all of you again, it was very informative. I think we could be here all day asking questions. If I could get a motion to adjourn. Director Roberts, Director Obrick, all in favor, and any opposed? And the committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you very much, Chair Holmes. Directors, will just give them 2 or 3 minutes for a quick washroom break or grab the coffees, and we'll get started with the regular board meeting. we have sound back on. Okay, good morning, directors. We are going to get rolling with the regular board meeting. If you could please have a look at your agendas. This is your only opportunity to remove an item from the consent agenda. Would anybody like an item pulled from consent? Nope, okay, not Director. Okay. Not see anybody on consent. Okay, we also have some amendments to the agenda. Item number B8 is being removed. The applicant has asked for that to come off. So B8 will not be on the agenda. And then we're also going to add F5. So F5 is out of this morning's corporate services, and that's the list of select committees and external agency appointments. We will add that to the agenda. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Director Bauer, Director Coyne Jr. seconding. Thank you. Any comments, questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? And hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. And I'd also just like to take the opportunity to welcome once again alternate Director Richard Barkwell today, who is filling in for Director Trainer. Okay, so directors, that takes us to section B, Development Services, B1, Rural Land Use Matters. Development Variance Permit Application 10147 146th Avenue in Area A, CAO.
Yeah, this is a carport over farm equipment, Madam Chair, and they need a rear yard variance from 7.5 meters to 2.4 meters.
Okay.
We're recommending that we approve that.
Thank you. I'll go to Director Pendergraft on this.
I'll make that motion, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Director Bush, looks like I see your hand. Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or concerns with this? Okay, I'm not seeing any. This is a rural vote only. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. And is anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to B2, Agricultural Land Commission referral, non-adhering residential use at 5317 Sunflower Street in Area C, CAO.
Yeah, this is the large house that had applied to the ALC for permission to exceed their footprint for a house in the ALR. And also, initially, it contradicted the footage for the Area C zoning bylaw. So they made a revision on their plans, and we believe now that it complies with our footage requirements in the zoning bylaw, but it may not meet the requirements of the ALC. But regardless of that, Madam Chair, we believe it meets our requirements, so we're recommending that this be permitted to proceed to the ALC.
Okay, great, thank you very much. I'll go to Director Knoll.
I'll move the administrative recommendation, please.
Thank you, and there's a seconder by Director Roberts. Okay, and are there any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any here. I'll call the question then, and keep in mind roll vote. All in favor? And they're coming up. Thank you. Those can come down. And anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. And folks, I see a note from Corporate Officer Christine Malden saying, did you do the consent agendas? And I'm going to say, no, I didn't. I asked if anybody wanted to pull anything, but we need to have the vote. So thank you, Christy. We're going to back up and we're going to, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda corporate issues, please. I see Director Roberts, Director Sentis, thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion carries. And then we need to go to consent agenda development services. Looking for a motion to approve that. Director Pendergraft, thank you. Seconded by Director Coyne Sr. This one's a rural vote. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. And thank you, Ms. Malden. See, she's in another room and keeping track of me. Well done. Okay, on to B3. Zoning bylaw amendment, 500 Seacrest Hill Road, electoral area C. And we did have that public hearing this morning. I'll go to CAO Newell.
Yeah, this is the amendment for Loose Bay, Madam Chair, to permit campgrounds within the agricultural use, and it's ready for third and adoption.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll go to Director Knodel on this.
So move the administrative recommendation, please.
Okay, thank you. And I see Director Bush has seconded that. Are there any questions or concerns? Yeah, not seeing any. And this is a rural vote requiring a 2/3 majority. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. And anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go to B4, Agricultural Land Commission referral, non-farm use 1543 Maple Street in Area D. CAO.
Yeah, this is where an owner wants to use a warehouse for storage of finished wine on a property, Madam Chair, but it's actually for 2 different vineyards. And we don't believe that meets the requirements for what our zoning bylaw would permit. So we're recommending that this not proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go to Director Olbrich.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead,
Can you
Director
hear?
Olbrich.
Oh, thank you very much. I have trouble with the mute button. Thank you. I do want to speak to this, make a few comments, and then a motion, and then a request. First, I want to thank the staff for their report, which I think is excellent. The staff work on this has been challenging, I believe, from what I have seen. There has been frustration for the landowner and the agent for the landowner who was the previous landowner for 25 years. This particular property sold, and it's the new landowner who is involved, but it is the previous landowner who is the agent for the applicant. The frustration that has arisen is due to confusion that exists in our zoning bylaw uses, permitted uses, and ALC rules. When you read the administrative report, there's some excellent detail in here, including both sides of the issues. I can say that this may be something at a future meeting we can look at and maybe do some review and some cleanup. But for today, I just wanted to add that the Advisory Planning Commission gave this a very good review. The applicant was present as landowner and agent. They answered many questions. The discussion was thorough, lengthy, and the Advisory Planning Commission did support the applicant's request that this be authorized to proceed to the ALC. I agree with the Advisory Planning Commission advice and recommendation in this matter, so I am going to make the alternative motion number 1, and request that this be referred to the ALC. I do agree with the applicant that this would be the most appropriate course of action and in the circumstance. And I have a special request, which is the applicant is present through its agent. If I could request through the chair that the applicant be permitted to speak briefly, perhaps 5 minutes, to allow the landowner and its agent to be heard by the board, and more importantly, to allow the board to ask questions more directly. I can speak to it, but certainly I think it's important that the applicant and the landowner be heard. And so, again, I repeat, the motion that I'm making is alternative number 1. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Director Obert. Let's start with your motion, alternative number 1, that the board authorize the application to go forward to the ALC. I believe Director Monteith is seconding that. Is that correct, Director Monteith? Yes. Okay.
Very correct.
Okay, thank you. So we have the motion on the floor to authorize to go to the ALC. My understanding is Director Obrick is asking us to allow the representative for this application to speak briefly to it, I'm assuming to provide some more understanding. Since we don't have a recommendation to deny, where normally we would hear an application speak, we would need to have a seconder for Director Obrick's request and then call a vote for a 2/3 majority. So Director Coyne Jr., are you seconding that request? Okay, thank you very much. And was there any comment or question regarding that? I'm not seeing anyone. So I'm going to call the question on allowing the applicant to speak, which requires a 2/3 majority. All in favor? Okay, hands can come down. Anybody opposed to that request? Okay, I'm not seeing any opposition. Thank you. And who is it that will be speaking to this, Director Obrick?
The agent for the applicant is a gentleman named Larry Garrelus. Larry, I assume, is available. And as I mentioned earlier, he was for 25 years, the previous owner of these properties. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It appears we have Mr. Garrelus on the line. It looks like his mic is open, so go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity to address this report, but I immediately have to apologize. It probably is going to take longer than 5 minutes.
Okay.
So sorry for that. Please feel free to ask any questions as I go. Mr. Obrick has already sort of laid out the background, and I am the agent, and my wife and I were the former owners of Stag's Hollow Winery and the property on Maple Street, which is the subject property of the application. In general, though, warehousing is a major problem for wineries. The Shuttleworth Creek site was selected for a couple of reasons over other locations that the owner has, and he has approximately 110 acres of other vineyards throughout the Similkameen and Okanagan valleys. And he does own and has owned Bench 1775 on the Naramata Bench for several years, and is very active in the management of both facilities, our old winery and his winery. The Shuttleworth Creek site was selected for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's very close to Stag's Hollow Winery, only 2 kilometers away, so it would be very convenient to manage. The site is flat, and the area on the property selected and the design of the building was such that it minimized vineyard displacement. So it was placed as close to Maple Street as possible to allow for minimal road access and minimize the use of headland or land, vineyard land, and in fact, headlands that are the area used for tractor maneuverability between rows and vineyards is what the actual road access is onto the property and next to the warehouse. So there was no displacement of vineyard there. We went through the process of obtaining a building permit. As the permitting process was getting near the end with the regional district, or the planning department said we could excavate the site, but no other work could be done. So we actually did excavate the site for the warehouse. A building was ordered and has been delivered, and at no time did the regional district planning department say we could not proceed with the project. But it got to the point where they were just about to issue the paperwork when they realized there was no approval from the ALC, which was needed in this case because we were removing soil and adding fill involving more than 1,000 square meters. Unfortunately, I was not aware of that fairly recent requirement, nor was the general contractor involved. So I followed up with the ALC, and they recommended what is called that we go through a notice of assessment process. Unfortunately, this was not the correct way, and the more detailed application process was required, which is what we are involved with right now. As per Alr Use Regulation, ancillary uses such as proposed wine storage, a wine storage warehouse associated with an alcohol production facility must occur on the same property that the alcohol production facility is located on. So you can't have a warehouse without a winery on the same property. However, there are 2 other wineries involved here. Based on the information provided in the notice of assessment, Mr. Sunder, who is the director of operations at the ALC, I had a discussion with him, and he explained, and he highly recommended that we go through the application process because the NOI was technically not feasible. But before pursuing the application, I visited the regional district office and I met with Rushi Gadoya, a planning technician, because I definitely wanted to confirm that this was not outside of the allowable bylaws. He reviewed the application, a permit application, and went through the bylaws, and he interpreted it to allow for a warehouse such as we were proposing. And based on that meeting and the recommendation from Mr. Sunder at the ALC, that I decided to go ahead with the ALC application. So we're at the point now where I'd like to address a couple of arguments made in the administrative report that is recommending to not authorize the application. One of the first arguments made is that there is no direct nexus between the warehousing of finished wine and the agricultural use on the subject property. Administration has concerned that the warehouse facility is more of a standalone commercial industrial use and not one directly supporting the agricultural use of the parcel. First of all, the statement, I believe, is contradicted at least twice in the same report a few paragraphs later, which states, conversely, the proposed warehouse facility supports agricultural operations in general, as it will be used to support 2 other wineries under the same ownership. And the warehouse will support the vineyard operation on the site through storage of vineyard equipment. There will be an office and a lab, and will provide storage of farm products from off-site wineries, that is finished wine. Both uses are considered to be permitted uses under AG1 zone Area D bylaws. So the statement implying that a warehouse storing wine is not for agricultural use is somewhat difficult to fathom, making that nexus statement. And simply put, wine is an agricultural product made from grapes grown on agricultural land. And we're not dealing with oils, chemicals, water, or anything else being stored in that warehouse other than a product grown on agricultural land. An important point is that I planted up Shuttleworth Creek in 2012, and all of those grapes go to Stag's Hollow Winery 2 kilometers away. And that represents more than 60% of the wine produced at Stag's Hollow, and it will be stored at the warehouse on site at Shuttleworth Creek. The second argument is that although the zoning bylaw broadly allows for packing, processing, and storage of farm and off-farm products as a principal use, not an ancillary use or secondary use to agriculture, or an alcohol production facility, i.e. a winery, the zoning bylaw may not align with the agriculture or with ALR designation. Now, so that statement, as the report states, the same owner that owns the proposed acreage to be used for the warehouse already owns 2 other wineries. So the missing piece here is that there is not a winery on that particular parcel. An additional note is that the warehouse has been designed to not just store wine, but also package it. So I have this winery, this warehouse is purposely designed to accommodate a fairly significant bottling line that both wineries would use on site. And then we would package, store wine. There would be tanks for storage, aging and racking wines, temperature control, filtration, and laboratory analysis. So there would really be minimal design changes needed to actually make it a winery. The missing piece is your crush equipment at harvest and for fermentation. Specifically in response to the statement in the report that the zoning bylaw may not align with the ALR designation, I refer to ALC policy L24 dated October 19th, which is a set of guidelines that aim to ensure that land taken out of agricultural production to accommodate farm-related commercial and farm-related industrial uses, if any, is minimized. Proposed farm-related commercial and farm-related industrial uses are of a size and scale appropriate for the size of the farm operation. And the amount of land taken out of agricultural production for farm-related commercial and farm-related industrial uses, if any, should be minimized to ensure balance between farmland protection and the economic opportunities provided for farmers in ALR use. So in fact, this warehouse will use less than 50% of the ALC's allowable acreage on this particular parcel. But then when you consider that this warehouse is to be used to store wine made from 110 acres of grapes processed by 2 wineries, all commonly owned, if the land was contiguous, the warehouse area would be very, very small relative to the amount being farmed as vineyard. So I feel that this is definitely a balance between agricultural use and the economic opportunities that the ALR wants to provide for farmers. A third argument made in the report is the impetus of the application is due to the absence of a winery on site, no processing, i.e. no processing of grapes at this location and no winery license, which is a distinction not recognized under electoral area D zoning bylaw. So earlier this month, I asked the following question via email of the planning department with a copy to Mr. Avtar Sunder, the Director of Operations at the ALC. And my email specifically asked, my interpretation of the bylaws suggests that if we apply and obtain a wine manufacturing license, we could obtain a building permit. Please provide any objections that the RDOS planning would have if we have to go this route. And I received the following response from Ms. Peachy. In answer to your question about an alternative plan to establish a winery at 1543 Maple Street, a winery is a permitted use in the AG1 zone. As the property is within ALR, you would also need to fall under the specifications of farm use or apply for non-farm use. Wineries that meet ALR specification as farm use cannot be prohibited by local government. Mr. Sunder also responded, and he said, yes, a winery is allowed farm use in accordance with Section 13 of the Agricultural Reserve Land Use Regulation. And he also referred me to ALC Policy 24, which I quoted earlier. So it appears that if we obtained a wine manufacturing license for the property and operated a winery as required, we would be able to build the structure. The RDOS requirements, though, might be even more stringent and definitely not less, because now we would probably require more parking because now it's a winery, not just a warehouse. They would, you start to define how many people are involved in the process, et cetera. So you're taking up more land. There'd probably be more septic field requirements, taking up more land. Agriculture is very important to me. So I had been very diligent in placing the building road access off Maple Street, actually much to the annoyance of my general contractor and the engineers involved and telling them to redesign things. Having to revise MOT access to keep as much pines in the ground as possible. So the most difficulty I have with this is that it appears the decision is not to authorize the application is inconsistent with the same department's processing of the building permit to near completion, and it is not consistent with the recommendation by the ALC director to pursue an application. And finally, it meets Area D zoning bylaws. So pursuing the application to me made sense. So in conclusion, I believe the most appropriate course of action would be to allow this application to go forward to the ALC. And it is at the ALC that I believe the most appropriate decision will be made in regard to this project. Thank you for your time, and I apologize for taking so long.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Garrellis. Are there any questions, Director, specific at this time to Mr. Garrellis? Otherwise, we will close off with him and move forward with our debate. Any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Thank you very much, Mr. Garrellis, for your time. And we'll go back to the motion that's on the floor right now to authorize this to go forward to the ALC. Are there any questions or comments related to that motion? Director Knoll, go ahead, please.
This is very similar to the similar motion that we had for Area C. It's allowed by our bylaws, but the ALC is in conflict with it. I think this one has to go forward to the ALC for them to make the decision on it. It satisfies our needs, and it's up to the ALC to apply their common sense to their own regulations. Ours have been satisfied, so us applying it really doesn't fit the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Director Roberts, go ahead, please.
Thank you to the chair. I'm a little concerned, and of course, lack of understanding. I need to read back through that again, where there was a seeming contradictory statement between one principle in regards to planning versus another principle. Do we run into those situations quite often where we have two different types of lines of thought depending on what's going to be done through planning, and that they in and of themselves contradict one another? Just a question.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we've got Mr. Garish or Ms. Peachy on the line. No, we've finished off with him. Yeah, Ms. Peachy or Mr. Garish, are you on the line and could speak to that, please? Ms. Chris. Okay, Chris, are you there? We see your name. But we don't hear you. Oh, there you are. Now I see your picture. But no sound from your office. You could come into the boardroom, Chris or Joanne, because we're not getting sound from your office. Okay, I see Joanne's on the move. And Director Knoll, can I just check with you? Is that a leftover hand? Yeah, Okay, thank you.
My apologies.
No problem. Okay, Joanne is in the room. Thank you for joining us, Joanne.
Sure, sorry for not being able to hear me. So in terms of the question, which is the contradicting policies, essentially under the zoning bylaw, this potential use kind of falls somewhere between storing, packing, preparing, and processing farm products, which is a permitted use in the AG1 zone, and a storage and warehouse use, which is something that we permit in commercial and industrial areas. The connection between the agricultural uses on a property, including a winery, creates a more clear connection between storing, packing, preparing, and processing farm products than a facility that is disconnected from a winery use. And that essentially is where we were, I was looking at broader objectives for agricultural lands when reviewing this application to essentially decide whether that use should be something that we would want to see in an agricultural area versus not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? We do have the motion on the floor, and it is a rural vote only. I'm not seeing any other hands up. Okay, so the motion is to authorize this to go to the ALC. Rural vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. And is there anybody opposed? I'm not, oh, Director Knodel, you're opposed? Have I got that correct? Or is that, was that a vote in favor? So if you could just unmute and let us know, please. Are you there, Director Knodel? Okay. I do not know if that was in favor or opposed. Regardless, the motion does carry, but we need to register opposition. Ms. Malden, can we follow up with Director Knodel later
Yes,
on
we
this?
can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Okay, motion carries on that one, directors. We'll move on to B5. Petition to enter service areas 3498 Arawana Forestry Road in Area E, CAO.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is to extend the service areas for street lighting and solid waste collection to a small subdivision that's occurring in Naramata, and it is both of those are ready for adoption.
Okay, great, thank you. If someone can help me out with this one. Director Pendergraft's moving it, seconded by Director Coyne Senior. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this one? This is a corporate vote. Okay, I will call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. Yeah, I think Director Knodel's hand is stuck. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. And that takes us down to B6. Agricultural Land Commission Referral Subdivision 2860 Arawana Road and 3256 Juniper Drive in Electoral Area E, CAO.
Yeah, this is a lot adjustment, Madam Chair, and it's fragments a small portion of one lot to another, and so in an agricultural zone. So we're opposing that. We're recommending that we not authorize that to proceed.
Okay, thank you. This is Electoral Area E, and this is a property where in the past we've certainly had a lot of public interest due to the micro-cannabis facility. And in the past, we've gone out to the APC on this. So my preference here is to move the alternate recommendation at this time to refer this out to the Area E APC committee for their feedback. So I will move that. I see it seconded by Director Pendergraft. Are there any questions or concerns with this one? This is a rural vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Director Knodel, if you can hear me, try to remove your hand, please. We'll move on to B7, Electoral Area G Official Community Plan, OCP Bylaw Implementation Contract Award, CAO.
Yeah, we're proposing this be awarded to EcoPlan for $110,000.
Thank you. I'll go to Director Roberts on this.
Thanks to the chair. I'd like to comment first. I did leave a message. Whenever you see a price tag, you kind of get that lump in your throat. So, of course, I'm understanding this is part of the process. I'm just wondering, is this like, do I get my checkbook out today, or is this, again, overall part of the process of payment through OCP planning as we've put in place a year and a half ago? I'm just not going to be rushing off to the bank any day soon, am I?
This is electoral area planning manager.
Correct. So this does come out of electoral area planning.
Out of it as a general pot, as we've talked about before. I'm just wondering whether or not this is something that gets tagged on within the budget process again, or is this something that was already planned?
Well, I believe it was in the budget previously, and when we went out initially, the proposals came in higher than we had anticipated, so it will be budgeted for in 2021.
Okay, thank you. So I'm moving the motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Director Bauer. Any questions or comments on this? Director Coyne Sr., go ahead, please.
Yeah, so does Area G get stuck with this bill on their own, or is this part of all of our administration fees?
Yeah, Area G, although they don't have an OCP right now or a zoning bylaw, are part of the electoral area planning service. So it comes out of electoral area planning.
So we all pay for it?
All the electoral areas, yeah. Yeah. Except, oh no, B is part of it as well, even though they don't have an OCP or zoning bylaw as well. All of our electoral areas are part of the planning service.
Okay, thank you. Director Bush, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I'll be voting against it because I believe this should be an Area G expense on its own.
Well, I would say then our other OCPs haven't been individual expenses tagged to electoral areas, correct, CAO?
We traditionally fund OCP consultants for official community plans out of electoral area planning.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? This is a weighted corporate vote. Director Roberts?
Yeah, and to add to that, that was a part of the discussion we had when I brought it up originally, because I was wondering, that's when we talked about money that could be funded through gas tax, whether or not we have a reserve for doing these things. Because again, up to that point, I knew that Area G had been paying in $50,000 a year for electoral. So it's something that George and I have been paying into, but not really accessing. So I understand the angst around it, but I also understand that that's the process we have now. And if we wanted to deal with something more fair and equitable, be more of in the future, it may be more around how we look at reserves collectively in gas tax towards planning, so that we don't hit the taxpayer in the moment whenever we're doing reviews or starting up an OCP. But of course, in the moment, it's a moot point.
Okay, thank you. Director Coyne Senior.
So when this OCP is done, does it just fall into place, or does this have to go to referendum for the communities to, or the electoral area to vote on?
So this would be an assent process.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, the motion is on the floor. It is a weighted corporate vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. And anybody opposed? We have Director Bush opposed. And that is all opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. B8 was withdrawn, so we're going to go down to B9. Official Community Plan, OCP, and Zoning Bylaw Amendments, proposed dock regulations, Okanagan Basin Lakes, and we did see the public hearing first thing this morning. Go to CAO.
Yeah, so this is back for third reading, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Director Pendergraft. He's moving it. Thank you. Is there a seconder for this? Director Coyne Senior moving or seconding. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this? This one is a rural vote. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. And anybody opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to B10, Development Procedures Bylaw Update, Parkland Dedication Proposal, CAO.
Yeah, so this is, we've done the policy on parkland dedication, Madam Chair. This is to introduce requirements and processing procedures into the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion for first, second, third, and adoption. I see Director Monteith and Director Pendergraft. Thank you. Any questions or comments? This one is a rural vote requiring 2/3 majority. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. And hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to B11, Official Community Plan, OCP, and Zoning Bylaw Amendments in Electoral Area D. Residential Zone Update, Comprehensive Development Zone Phase 3, CAO.
Yep, so this is to get first and second reading, Madam Chair, and then assign the public hearing to the board on December 17th.
Thank you. I'll go to Director Ulrich.
I'd like to make the administrative recommendation as a motion, please.
Okay, thank you. I see Director Roberts is seconding that. Are there any questions or concerns with this? This is a rural vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go to section C now, Public Works. C1, Okanagan Kootenai Sterile Insect Release Program, CAO.
We had a presentation from the Sterile Insect Release Program at our legislative workshop, Madam Chair, and they've been undertaking a review of the cost apportionment process for SIR. This is a regional program, I believe, except for Princeton and Area H. so everybody else. And what they're doing, SIR was established by MEBA, so they have their own letters patent, and it would take an order in council in order to change the way that cost is apportioned. But in the meantime, over the years, they've been changing it with members' consent. So initially there were 5 regional districts, and Central Kootenai pulled out a number of years ago. And the remaining 4 regional districts had agreed that we would freeze the 2006 assessment with land only as a basis for cost apportionment. And North Okanagan Regional District challenged that about a year ago, and hence the review and the need to do it more permanently and to get it back up to the province. This goes through the Ministry of Agriculture, through the province, to make sure that the legislation is appropriate for the way that we're doing it. So when they were at our legislative workshop, they did make a proposal and they're doing this with all of the 4 members, that the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen support the apportionment process. So changing it to from just land to land and improvements, to entrench the assessment portion as 75% of the cost. The other 25 is through a partial tax to growers, and that we bring this cost apportionment change in over 4 years to reduce the impact really on the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, because Central Okanagan pretty well stays the same. North Okanagan will come down a little bit, and South Okanagan will go up a little bit. And we went through the reasons for that, is that we're sort of the biggest user of that, and it would seem appropriate to do it. And then they also want us to write a letter to the province in support of an order in council to legalize the new cost apportionment process. So we're recommending that go for approval, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And we did see a presentation on this last week when we were at the lakeside. Director Bush, are you moving this, or you have a comment or question?
Yeah, on behalf of the board, I will move this.
Okay, thank you very much. I see a seconder from Director Roberts. Any questions or concerns with this? Director Holmes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a question. The principle of including taxable acreage in the value tax at all, even regardless of the ratio. When I asked this to SIR people last week, they said that it was to account for where the resources were being applied, but I don't really understand. You know, when you talk about the public health benefits, they apply to everybody, no matter where you live. And I used the example last week of whether you're in a suburban house in Kelowna or a suburban house in Penticton, you're benefiting the same. And I think the environmental benefits apply to the entire Okanagan ecosystem. So if everyone's benefiting, I don't think it should really matter where the resources are applied. And I guess my question is, how does an organization like the OBWB work? How does their tax position work? Does it differentiate between different regional districts? Because to me, I see this as a very similar thing.
Okay, so it will be based on assessment on improvements and land in the 4 remaining regional districts. So I'm not sure I quite understand the questions. It's not based on the geographic area. It's based on land and assessment in those 4 electoral or regional districts.
Yeah, so all the regional districts are treated the same. in the OBWB.
And SIR.
Well, not exactly, because if there's taxable acreage, you know, the RDOS has a lot more taxable acreage than the other regional districts do. And to apply that on the residents, where taxable acreage really ought to be applied is on the parcel taxes paid by the commercial growers. And I understand why they don't want to go there, why they don't want to place any extra burdens on the growers at this time, but I don't think the solution is to then unfairly place that burden on our residents, which is, I think, is what's happening.
So the cost apportionment process is set up in NEVA, so in the legislation, and what SIR is recommending is that we go from just a land assessment to land and improvements, which is the more normal procedure. In fact, I think SIR is the only service that we have that is only land. All of our other services are land and improvements. So that would make sense to me. But as to just charging it to the growers, I mean, we could argue that back. I don't think that would be. I think we would see the demise of the program if it was just placed on the growers.
Yeah, I guess I'm not.
Okay, I see Director Bush. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so somewhat I agree with Director Holmes, but the SIR doesn't really compare to the water basin. It's a little different. Our regional district does benefit so much more, and also the resources are mostly in our regional district too as well. And I think this is what they're looking at. But it's not just the benefits as air quality or whatnot. So it's a complicated issue. But this is what the SIR board has come up with, and so I'm willing to go with it.
Thank you. I see Director Monteith next.
To the chair, I really respect the need to be fair in taxation, period, and paying for our fair share. I guess I have concern about the change and I guess, was there feedback received from growers and what the change would mean for them and what that transpires moving forward to the actual product? You know, is it gonna make an increase in cost for the grower, so they're gonna pass it on to the purchaser, which means everybody's gonna end up paying more again? And is this a change of moving tax to the actual service, but then we're going to pay more in the end? So I guess I'm wondering, was there contact with growers? Do they understand the impact for them? And is there a prediction of increased costing? Thank you.
So the growers sit on the board of directors for the sterile insect release program, so they would certainly know. The budget for SIR at 1.7 million, as I understand it, has sort of been frozen for the last 10 years. They've been generating additional revenue through sale of the product, but whether their budget goes up in the future, of course, that we wait and see on that.
And are they not intending to sell more product down the road?
There's a market.
Yeah.
There definitely is a market for the product.
For the sterile moth. Okay, thank you. Director Holmes, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. But it's my understanding there's no changes to the parcel tax paid by the growers, but these changes are to the balances paid by all our local taxpayers. Is that correct? Or am I?
Yes, they're locking in 25% of the budget to the growers.
Yeah, so nothing changes for the growers.
Right.
And my understanding is that this change is more fair in the sense RDOS has not been contributing fairly based on the previous formula. Is that correct, CAO?
We've been paying our share based on the formula that was entrenched at the time.
Right, but the formula now, in the opinion of SIR, creates a more fair system.
Yeah, they had the cost apportionment working group that went through it thoroughly, and they looked at a number of different options, and this is the one they're recommending.
Right. Okay, thank you. I'll go to Director Bush.
Yeah, so the growers pay a parcel tax plus they pay the same amount as any other RDOS landowner or whatever. So their costs still go up as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? This has been moved and seconded and is awaiting corporate vote. Director Bush, your hand is up. No, it's gone. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Is anybody opposed? Director Holmes is opposed. Okay, no one else. Thank you. Motion carries. We'll go to C2, award of 2020 to 2021 waste composition study, CAO.
Yeah, so our solid waste management plan calls for doing waste composition studies at all of our landfills on a regular basis, Madam Chair. So because that gives us a better understanding of what's coming in and where our best opportunities are for reducing that amount, and how successful we are being on our program. So we're recommending that we award the contract for this to Tetra Tech Canada for $68,000.
Okay, thank you very much. Is anyone willing to move this? Director Gettins, thank you. And is there a seconder? Director Sentis, thank you very much. Any questions or concerns? Director Holmes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I guess, are we able to assume that what goes into Camel Mountain or Glenmore is the same thing, more or less, that goes into all the landfills? Is that why just those two landfills were chosen?
I think probably the data is transferable. One would seem to think that maybe some variations, but overall I think it should be close.
Okay, and just to follow up, if I may, so the report says to inform the life cycle studies of the RDOS landfills. Is that apply? Is it will the report be accessible and useful to all the municipal landfills, such as Summerlands?
I'm sure we'd share the data if they wanted to make use of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? This is a weighted corporate vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. Director Monteith, hand could come down. Thank you. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Takes us down to C3, award of RFP for agricultural chipping, CAO.
Yeah, so this is on a per hour basis, Madam Chair. So we're recommending that this contract be awarded to South Okanagan Tree Works for $300 per hour. Our estimate, our yearly estimate is $75,000, and it's a 3-year term.
Okay, thank you. Director Bush, are you moving that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. And seconded by Director Roberts. Are there any questions or comments? This is a weighted corporate vote. Director Pendergraft, go ahead, please. Or were you eager to vote? Uh-oh, we don't.
There we go. I couldn't get my unmute off. Anyway, just wanted to confirm that the contract is not binding to a specific amount per year. It's just based on use?
It's based on 300 per hour, yeah.
Yeah. So if he only does 1 hour of work for the entire year, we don't pay him anything else.
No, there's no retainer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, weighted corporate vote. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can go down. Director Holmes, hand can come down. Thank you. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. That takes us down to D, Community Services. D1, Provincial License of Occupation Renewal, KVR Osprey Lake to Falder, CAO.
There's a section of trail that we need to renew on, Madam Chair, so we're recommending that we make that application.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Director Gettens.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make the recommended motion, please.
Motion. Okay, thank you. Director Coyne Senior, are you seconding? Yes? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Director Coyne. Did you have a comment as well, or?
No, that's all. I just fumbled the button here.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded by Gettens and Coyne. Any comments or questions on this? It is a corporate vote. And not seeing any. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go on to E, Finance. E1, Bylaw 2919, Area C Community Works Gas Tax Reserve Expenditure Bylaw, CAO.
Director Knodel wants to commit $5,000 of his community works program to the Willowbrook Fire Hall renovation, Madam Chair. This is an extension of ductwork, and we're looking for first, second, third adoption.
Okay, great. I'll go to Director Knodel on this.
This actually creates a savings for the fire hall once it's in. They have a heat loss because the ductwork isn't extended far enough, and it was assessed and evaluated that they would have a considerable savings once this is done. And I didn't want to impact their budget at this late date. So it fits the gas tax criteria. I figured that was a good place to put some gas tax money. Thank you.
Okay, so you're moving the administrative recommendation?
So moving the administrative recommendation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think Director Roberts is seconding. Is that correct, Director Roberts? Yes, okay, good. So moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns with this? Director Gettens, go ahead, please.
Thank you, through the Chair. I'm just minimum amount that to approve every spending of gas tax, or is just some spending of gas?
You're cutting in and out, Director Gettens. I'm wondering if
Did I cut out?
You can get closer to a microphone, maybe. Oh, you're freezing. I know that.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I think I'm losing my.
Okay, you sounded better there. The question was, is there a minimum amount? Is it a gas tax money that can be committed? Is that the question, Director Gettens?
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's just a question around our policy on spending of gas tax. And do we as a board have to approve every spending of every electoral area's gas tax purchases? I thought that I've spent some money on gas tax, but I don't think it came to the board, so I'm just wondering.
Because the community works program is entrenched in bylaws, Madam Chair, it has to come into the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, there's a weighted corporate vote. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll go to F, Legislative Services. F1, Board Policy Review as considered at the October 15th, 2020 Corporate Services Committee. So we have A, Fleet Acquisition, Replacement and Disposal Policy. B is Exempt Employee Performance Planning and Review Policy. C is Public Complaint Resolution Policy. D is Official Recognition Policy. E is Bylaw Enforcement, Pre-existing Non-Compliant Building Structures or Things that have been denied variance permits Policy. F is Anti-Idling for RDOS Fleet Vehicles Policy, and G is Proclamation Policy. CAO.
So A and B are amendments. C and D are new policies for adoption, and the remainder we're proposing to rescind, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And we did see these previously. Is anyone willing to make the administrative recommendation? Director Bauer is moving it. Thank you. Is there a seconder for this? Director Roberts, thank you very much. Any questions or concerns? Not seeing any. This is a corporate vote. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. And is anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go to F2, Sickle Point Parkland Acquisition, CAO.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So we all know waterfront properties in the Okanagan-SIMILKAMEEN are very tough to get back once they've been sold. There is a property in Gleben that is now under a court-ordered sale, and the community is interested. So the Cleveland Community Association has approached the regional district to assist in acquiring that property. So this is the process that we would need to go through. And obviously, if you're going to buy a property, you need money. And in our line of work, because each of these services is established by bylaw, we have, and one of the requirements of an establishment bylaw is that you set out the maximum requisition limit so that when you're approaching those residents that will pay for that service, they have an understanding of how much they might have to pay. So in order for us to borrow the amount of money that would be necessary for a Sickle Point, that would raise the requisition limit that is currently entrenched in the service establishment bylaw over the maximum amount. So first of all, we have to deal with the Cleveland Parks and Recreation establishment bylaw. So what we're recommending, Madam Chair, on that part is, and as everybody's aware, when for something significant like this, there's always a cent involved, especially if it's a borrowing. So what we're proposing, Madam Chair, is that we give first, second, third readings to the service establishment bylaw to raise the requisition limit to an appropriate amount. And we'll need that. And then we need the consent of the area director. So we would need that. And then we have to forward that to the inspector of municipalities for approval. And they'll determine, first of all, they'll look at how much the requisition is going up, and then that will help them determine whether an alternative assent process is adequate or whether we would have to go out for a full referendum. And then, and we're proposing AAP. So there's that bylaw 2914, all about the service establishment bylaw. And then we also have the long-term debt bylaw. So as we know with court-ordered sales, there's no receiver at this point, but the mortgagee has appointed a realtor. They've got an offer that they're prepared to recommend to the court. We don't know what that offer is right now, but we know that, we know that the asking price was around the $3 million. So it's going to be somewhere up in that area. And then once that offer gets into court, the judge will open up for bids because this is a competitive process. The judge's job is to get the most money that he can for the mortgagee and the property owner. So just to be sure, the Cleveland Community Association has agreed that we should be including in the borrowing bylaw not more than $3.5 million. Not that they expect to have to pay that much. There will also be some fundraising along the lines of that as well. But we would need certainty before we enter into the game that we would have enough money based on what happens out of the court hearing. So we're recommending that the borrowing bylaw be given first, and second, and third reading, and then go to the inspector of municipalities as well. And then if we get that approval, that we move forward on an alternative assent process. And if that is the case, we would then set the deadline for that. It's 30 days from the start. We don't know how long it will take us to get back from the province. So we're suggesting that we would start in January with the 30 days, putting the last day for objections at February 8th. And with the service area that's within the service establishment bylaw, there would be 1,816 eligible electors. 10% would have to object in order to stop the bylaw. So that would be 182, Madam Chair. So we're putting that forward as our recommendation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Director Monteith on this.
To the chair, I would like to really thank Mr. Newell for everything. You know, he has stepped up to the plate. Out of nowhere, this opportunity arose, and huge support to the community of Cleveland. The Cleveland Community Association has been working really hard. They've been doing fundraising now. I've shared it on our Cleveland Community Facebook group several times. Very little negativity. The community does not support development on that land. They know that, you know, this is our last chance to purchase the land. It'll be gone. If somebody buys it, develops it, it's gone. So the community knows that this is something that is coming down the chute. I've shared it through Scottsdale Matters and, you know, like I said, through Facebook. So everybody's aware. So there's no surprise that this is our next step. So with that being said, I fully support the staff or the administrative recommendation.
Okay, so you're moving the administrative recommendation, and we're looking for a seconder. I see Director Pendergraft is seconding that. Are there any questions or concerns? Director Gettens, go ahead, please. Oh, Director Gettens, did you have a hand up? No? Okay, sorry. Director Knodel, go ahead, please.
Sorry, eager to vote.
Oh, okay, good. Anybody else with question or comment before I call the vote? This is a weighted corporate vote. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Hands can come down. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll go down to F3, which is Electoral Area E, Parkland Acquisition, CAO.
Somewhat similar, Madam Chair, is that there is a waterfront parcel that the Naramata Center is making available. So this is not a forced sale. This is a voluntary sale by the Naramata Center. And they have been working with the community in order to help the community take possession of that parcel with a whole bunch of caveats around other parcels that they have that they also want to be available to the community. So on this specific one, so this is first of all about raising the requisition limit in the Naramata Parks and Recreation Service, much as we did with Clean. And then there is also that long-term debt bylaw in order to raise the money necessary to complete a purchase, because there already has been a significant amount of money that has been transferred over to the regional district for that project. So we have bylaw 2917, which is for the amendment of the service establishment bylaw to raise the requisition. And we're looking for 3 readings on that, Madam Chair. We need the consent of the electoral area E director. We would forward that to the minister for approval. And then should we get that, we would go the AAP route. Or actually, I'm not even sure. With the difference in Naramata is their requisition limit doesn't have to go up quite as much. I'm not sure if we have to go out on that one, or whether you can just approve that as the director.
Well, my original understanding is we have to go out for AAP, so I know.
Requisition limit?
Let's ask Ms. Molden. She's on the line there. Ms. Molden, could you clarify for us?
So your question is, do you have to go out for approval on the establishment bylaw? Was that the question?
Yeah, we're just going out on the borrowing bylaw, right?
Yeah, it's the same process as we're proposing for Sickle Point. Minister will hold the establishment bylaw. We had several ways we could have done it with this one because the cost was so low, but or lower. But we're doing the same process as for Sickle Point. So minister will hold those until there's a successful AAP process completed on both of them.
So we're going out on both?
Nope. So we're going to go out on the borrowing bylaws for both. The minister will hold the service establishment bylaws until such time as we have a successful AAP on the borrowing.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, so there is that 2917 that's on the establishment bylaw to raise the requisition limit, and then there's 2918, which is the borrowing bylaw, and we need 3 readings on that before we send it to Madam Chair.
Great, thank you very much. So I can obviously speak to this one. So a huge thank you to the volunteer group in Naramata, Naramata Slow Group, which is also known as Cheetah Slow. That's our designation out of Italy, who took the lead on this and did a outstanding marketing campaign, including what they created as the Green Ribbon campaign. People wanted a green ribbon to tie around their front door, their entrance, to show that they participated in this fundraiser to save the park and beach, and as well as the partnership with the Naramata Center Society, who came to us directly to sell this to us so that it could stay with the community, as well as some other future projects we're looking at doing with them. One is a donation of land to the community, to the RDOS, to build a future community haul on. So that's what we're calling phase 2. But in phase 1, we now have commitments of just over $1 million in donations. So even though we're looking at this borrowing bylaw of up to $900,000, we're expecting it to be more like $700,000 that we will borrow to complete this deal. So I would like to move the administrative recommendation. I see a seconder from Director Roberts. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. This is also, of course, a weighted corporate vote. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Hands can come down. And Director Monteith, hand could come down, please. Thank you. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to go down to F4, which is Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment, Bylaw Open Burning Amendment, CAO.
Yeah, so we're looking for 3 readings and adoption on this amendment.
Okay, thank you. We're looking for a mover for this. Director Bauer and Director Robinson, thank you. Any comments or questions? This is a corporate vote requiring 2/3 majority. I'll call the question. All in favor? Your hands can come down. And anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And then we also added in an F5, which is out of corporate services this morning. That was the select committees and external agency appointments. I'm looking for a motion to approve those. I see Director Pendergraft, seconded by Director McCordoff. Any questions on those? Okay, I'll call the question then on approval of the appointments. All in favor? Hands can come down. Director Monteith, hand can come down. It seems to be stuck. Okay, we'll go ahead and call anyone opposed. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us down then to G, CAO reports. Any updates, CAO?
No, nothing new.
Okay, thank you. Chair's report as well. There's nothing new from me. We, as you all know, been very active with our budgeting process. So tomorrow we will have a full day of budgeting over at the Lakeside Resort. And as everyone I think is well aware, we're seeing an increase in COVID cases. So this may very well be our last in-person meeting, certainly of this year, and most likely into the new year for a while as we see how things go with COVID. Director Monteith, do you have a question, or is that still a leftover hand? Or a stuck hand? Okay, we're going to call that a stuck hand. All right, let's move on then to H2, which is board representations. So we'll start with Director Bush. Anything with Starling Control?
No, hopefully we have a meeting before the end of the year, so coming up shortly in December, I believe.
Okay, great, thank you. MFA and MIA have not had any meetings. OBWB, I know we have an update in our package. Director McCordoff, anything from you?
Thank you very much. And yes, the report that you've received is quite up to date. I just want to point out a couple of things. That the water security is the theme this year for the Water Conservation and Quality Improvement Grant Program. And that needs to be, those grant applications need to be in by February the 26th. So I recommend that everybody look at that carefully. And the OBWB has not had a tax increase in about 8 or 9 years. There will be a small one this year of 5%. We're addressing the Okanagan lake levels, which has been a concern. And actually, Sean Reimer is the dam operator is going to have a look at that along with the province to see what we can do to make that a little more stable and not the highs and lows if there's something all about climate change. And the other thing was that part of the Okanagan Basin Water Board's 50th anniversary, there were 2 excellent guest speakers, and I'm not sure if any of you were able to listen to them. Bob Sanford was one, and I think I reported on that. But Seth Eagle spoke on November the 12th. Really interesting. He's got 2 books out called Let There Be Water and Troubled Water, and he was basing it on Israel. It's, I think, half the size of the Okanagan Valley. And Israel is now a water-wealthy country. They have a master plan in place for water, and you know, they have all kinds of really good ideas that we probably need to look at. And water security were two of the things that he mentioned. In your board, the Okanagan Basin Water Board report, there is, you can look at you can go online and see this YouTube video. Really worthwhile. I would suggest that anybody who's concerned about water, which of course we all are, need to have a peek at that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Director McCordoff. We'll go next to Director Gettins. Anything from Okanagan Film Commission?
Hi, I'm just calling in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you really well this time.
Oh, really well. Yeah, so the Film Commission Board, we've actually started meeting a little bit more often because things are so busy. One thing that came up last night was that pre-COVID for 2020, we had 2 productions booked. After COVID began and the Okanagan was able to keep moving forward, we now have 27 productions booked. So last year we were looking at trying to raise funds, if you recall, at the last budget, because we wanted to do more exposure for our area to attract more business. And now they need help just keeping up with the workload. So there's lots of positive news coming out of the industry, and it's going really well, along with the animation as well. They are really busy too. So we're getting a good reputation, and we're getting noticed by some pretty big names in Hollywood. So John's going to book a time to come and talk to the board and share those names when he can. And yeah, it's going really exciting. So it's good.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Director Gettins. I'll go on to Okanagan Regional Library Board. We had our board meeting yesterday, and we approved the 2021 budget, and we were also pleased to announce that we have finished our bargaining with CUPE, and we've concluded for a 3-year contract with CUPE, so that was great to have that done. And as you noticed from the report out of Corporate Services, Director Monteith will be taking over for me. That next meeting isn't until mid-February, so my understanding is I stay in place as their board chair just in case any issues come up until then. But I told them that they were getting a very enthusiastic director to come in and replace me at that board of 24 politicians. So it should be a lot of fun. They're a good group of people. We'll move on to Director Bush again with SIR. Was there anything further from what we talked about today?
No, we'll have another meeting coming up next Friday on the 27th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Director Pendergraft, anything with the South Okanagan-Similkameen Fire Chief Association?
Nothing new at this time.
Okay, thank you. Director Sentis, anything with Okanagan-Similkameen Regional Hospital District?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Director McCordoff with the Rural Healthcare Community Coalition.
We have not had a meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then Director Knoll, have you had anything with Simia?
No meetings at this point.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to the end of board representation. H3 is director's motions. Did any director have a notice or motion to bring forward at this time? I'm not seeing any hands up for that. That takes us to H4, board members' verbal updates. Did any board members have an update you'd like to provide us from your community? Director Coyne Sr., go ahead, please.
Yes, so this morning we had a meeting with Weyerhaeuser and the mine and the pellet plant, the post plant, the town of Princeton, myself, and AIM Roads with Kylie Odell in attendance for Ministry of Highways. We're still having issues here with quality of service. We've had 3 snowfalls, or snow events so far in our area, and all three of them have been pretty much a catastrophic failure on AIM roads' part of keeping the highways open. So we've scheduled another meeting. They've come up with some more planning on what they're going to do about it. And we've got another meeting scheduled for December the 14th. So I urge all of the directors that have concerns to please contact AIM Roads, as well as I would strongly suggest you send an email to Kylie and keep her aware of your concerns, as this issue really hasn't been solved in our area, and I doubt that it has in yours as well. So just kind of a reminder to contact these people and let them know if there are problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Coyne. I see we have Director Holmes next and then Gittins. Go ahead, Director Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to, if you haven't heard, tell the board that the District of Summerland has hired its new CAO. His name is Graham Statt. He's currently an Assistant Deputy Minister with the province of Alberta. He will be starting his new position in Summerland on January 4th, and I think you'll find him to be a very effective contributor to the CAO group. He's a pretty impressive fellow. And I'd also say Anthony Haddad, our outgoing CAO, last week was his last week, and I'd like to wish him well as he returns to Penticton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Holmes. We look forward to meeting the new CAO in the new year. Director Gittins, go ahead, please.
Thank you to the chair. I just wanted to echo Director Coyne Sr.'s request about AIM. And just again, asking if we can have them come back again before the end of the year with our MLAs and Modi as well. I've got some citizens here that are a little bit, quite concerned about some things that are happening. And then we haven't actually really had that much snow in Area F. And so I think that conversation is coming, and trying to find somebody who we can contact directly with some of the larger concerns. And I just wanted to also ask, when Director Coyne referred to Kylie, I don't know who Kylie is, and I'm just curious who that connection is.
Right, so I would suggest Kylie is their Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure area rep. The one for this area is Chris Keir, so you probably know Chris Keir, so Kylie would be the equivalent over in that area. Is that correct, Director Coyne Sr.?
Yes, Kylie Odell out of the Penticton Highways office is our highways supervisor for this area. I don't know where her area ends or begins, but they all work under Jeff Wiseman, I do believe.
Okay, good, thanks. I just thought maybe there was somebody else I could loop into the ever-going emails.
Yeah, no, our area, Director Gittins is Chris Keir, and then above him is Jeff Wiseman. So I know we talked before about getting both of our MLAs in to speak with us, and if we can request see if we can get MOTI and AIM roads in December, that would be excellent. Because I know that we're all experiencing issues. We haven't had a lot of snow, but with the small amount we've had, we had a few accidents out in Area E. So let's see if we can get them in December so that we can have a discussion with them. Thank you very much. Anybody else who has an update to provide? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else with a hand up. Okay, so folks, a reminder that tomorrow is back at budgeting at the lakeside, starting at 9 o'clock. So you can come join us in person, and if you prefer to be on WebEx, we have that option for you as well. So if there's nothing further, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Director Bowers, seconded by Director Robinson. All in favor? Thank you. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.